Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film.
We head east this week with Oliver Stone's 2004 ancient Greek epic, Alexander. As always, I'm joined by Mike B.
Yep.
Nate.
Uh,
And friend of the channel, and our ancient historian, Sean.
Hello.
Unfortunately, Michael has joined Darius and fled east, so we will find him.
Just fled into the hills of Afghanistan.
Somewhere.
But at least we get Sean, not the expert, so that's good.
Yeah.
The next bird.
The nexpert. The nexpert with the
Next.
So what'd you guys think?
I talked first. Fuck.
This is a notorious movie.
It's notorious for all the wrong reasons, but I remember when this came out, following Braveheart. So it's like 5 years after Braveheart, following
boomer.
Troy.
Yeah, how dare you remember this from your childhood?
Fuck you. Following Troy, and other kind of like the grandiose epics of they're trying to rekindle those like massive epics. And man, I must have blocked this movie from my mind. Holy crap! Like, and not in a good way. Like this is rough. This is, and it's not like, to me, it wasn't like acting rough. It was like editorial director, where the fuck is this going rough? Like a timeline that you could, like, a fucking toddler with connect the dots would make a better timeline than this. Like it's all over the place, sporadic and crazy. Nothing's aligned. It's all jumbled up back and forth. I'm getting history lessons with acid trips. I'm getting, all this other random ass shit in it. And then I don't know if Alexander the Great or Alexander who has mommy issues. Like, I don't know what to expect. And I understand Macedonia and the Greeks is very much like, the reef forms a circle in many ways. But, like, what the fuck is going on? And it just reminded me how the aughts filmmaking was mid-shot and mid-shot only, even if the shot calls for a grandioso wide. Like, it just was all over the place, just like how my intro is. So it's like, I just couldn't hone in on anything. And then, I'll say this in confidence, I had no way to watch this movie at all. Nothing was free, nothing anywhere. You think a 20-year-old movie would have somewhere free. Nowhere, which is almost exactly 20 years old. And I ended up buying it, and I get about 20 minutes into it, and I go, oh, fuck, I bought the extended version. So then...
I warned you.
I had to sit through
you.
30, 40 more minutes. So everyone's journey was probably like, 3? Mine was 3.5.
So was mine.
I watched that one as well.
So
yep.
all right, was Brian the only one who watched the normal one?
Well, I might have done 3 and 2, but yes, I did watch the normal one.
Yeah, so like it just oh my god, like I'm at like 45 minutes remaining and I'm like, oh, it's got to be almost near the end, right? No. Oh, Jared Leto's dying. No. Oh, we're at Anthony. No. Like, fuck. So anyway, long-winded intro over. This movie is a clusterfuck. And I blocked it out, and now I can't get my life back. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched, but it was damn near unwatchable, just the order it was in.
So, obviously, this historical context, like everything that was supposed to be talked about, is way out of my wheelhouse. It's just not my forte. I don't know much about it besides the very macro level shit. But here's the caveat to that. All of us have watched films where we don't really necessarily know the subject matter of what the film is about, or portraying, but you can tell it's an absolute piece of shit. And you can tell when it's just like, that's not probably what happened. It's just because it's so meandering, so wandering. Yeah, you got a bunch of A-list actors. Good for you. A lot of the acting was horse shit. And so when I don't know the subject matter that well, I don't take it as seriously as far as like looking for historical things. What I do is I look for filmmaking at that point, right? Holy fuck. Oliver Stone, you're a good dude, man, but like you shit the fucking bed on this one. Where the fuck were you going with this? What were you doing? Because it was just a colossal, like Nate said, it's a clusterfuck. It's like, okay, so we're going in this direction. Oh, no, now we're going in this direction. Oh, now we're doing this. Now we're doing that. And I'm like, historical context aside, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, now another flashback to, okay, we're going 6 years. Now it's 9 years ago. So it's like, why don't you just give us the context in fucking order? That would have been a lot easier as far as like a film is kind of orchestrated and like to get the point across. And then we can go in and talk about who Alexander actually was, what his life was, all that stuff. And instead you've got all these shitty like side characters and side stories that come up. Like, is this relevant to the main thing or what are you doing? And it goes on for 3.5 fucking hours. What are we doing here? That was what I was asking myself the whole time. I was like, what are we doing here? What's going on? And that's my initial thoughts. Brian.
Ooh.
Ran a marathon today.
No. I'll just read off the top note I have.
Yes.
Okay.
Did they have an editor?
No.
Sean.
I have more to that, and I will jump into that.
I have a lot, but
No.
that's all I gotta say.
I like that opening thought. I like that opening thought. Did they have an editor?
And I will jump headlong into that when we come to that.
Yep.
So yeah.
So I'll say I really like the battle scenes in this movie. It's a shame there's only 2. And if I have to hear Angelina Jolie do that fucking accent one more time, I'm gonna jump off a building. I was so tired by the end. I'm like, I just can't. Like anytime she was on the screen, I ended up just like getting up to like put my laundry in, to like on my phone, like brushing up on my Alexander history. It was just like, well, it's like the anime like filler episode. Like I'm done. I'm just gonna skip this.
Jake Sully.
God.
Side quest.
The whole fucking movie is a side quest.
It's the movie that just focuses on all the wrong aspects of Alexander's life. We'll get it.
Yep.
Eyeliner in the early aughts.
I commented that. I think I sent you a message earlier. I'm like, what the fuck is with all the eyeliner on everyone? You're like, it's 2004, and I was like, fair.
It's to hide their emotions. Because they're damaged goods, Mike.
I know.
It's not just a phase, Mom. It's a lifestyle.
Welcome to the Black Parade. Yeah.
Macedonian eyeliner was made from crushed turtles that were harvested in the Black Aegean Sea.
I didn't know Bastian was Jared Leto for a little bit, and I looked it up, and I was like,
"Oh my god!"
I was like, his face looked like vaguely familiar. I was like, "Oh, it's Jared Leto." Like, oh, now I hate it even more.
I noticed that about 40 minutes in. Yep,
that's the guy that climbed the Empire State Building.
Wow. I just wanted it to be Morbid time, that was it.
Yeah,
and it wasn't.
It's like he did a 30 Seconds to Mars concert and then just went to the set, and then everybody's like, "Oh, the eyeliner looks cool. Let's just do that for everyone." What the fuck?
Just don't stop.
God,
they're all Jared Leto.
The only and Mike and I were texting and each other with this. The only good thing is that Ahsoka is topless in this, and I'm happy.
She's got great rack.
I never knew she was in this movie, and I was like, damn.
Yeah,
okay.
Very nice rack. Very respectable.
Nice. You've made the $4 worth it.
Yep.
So something funny I found along the way doing research for this was a 2004 History Channel documentary about the filming of this, and how Colin Farrell was becoming Alexander, and it was so fucking like a product of its time and funny. Like, oh my
Spoiler
god,
alert,
they
he
have
did
Dale
not become
Dye in there.
Alexander. Just throwing that out there.
They have Dale Dye in there, and he was like, "Here are your men. How will you attack?"
Dale Dye, famous ancient historian.
Literally.
So this isn't a joke. He really was on that.
Yeah, literally. And then,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
And then he's like, when we get to Jordan, I'm going to be quizzing you even harder. I'll be one of like your old generals, making sure you know what you're doing. And I'm like, he's an actor. And the whole time, Dale Dye is just like, actors don't understand. All they understand is me. But they got to understand they're part of the team.
Projecting
like,
much, bud? Projecting much, bud?
It's like he's got to understand that Alexander's part of the team. And I'm like, he was a fucking Greek king.
Macedonia, bro.
Like, no, he's not one of you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean.
He was a Macedonian king. Like, what the fuck? He's not one of you. Are they Greek?
You could say technically yes, because the Macedonians were allowed to participate in the Olympic Games, which you were only allowed to do if you were Greek. So they are Greek, but they're different than the Greeks, kind of. It's almost like an England-Scotland comparison between the two.
So speaking on Scotland, and I swear this is relevant. Could you count how many scenes from Braveheart were in this movie? Could you count how many scenes and tropes were coming from just Braveheart in this movie? The speech in the bar, like, I'm doing this, and I'm doing... Braveheart was
They were there for the freedom of Greeks, even though they enslaved people all the time.
Right.
They were there for the freedom.
Right. eight lines of speech for Mel Gibson. I swear I, checked my phone by paragraph 20 of fucking Colin Farrell trying to be, all... And the music trying to pump it up. It was the same theme. That music's not... Stop. Editor, stop. You suck. Stop. Brian.
So I forget who mentioned it in their intro, but yes, this was like Oliver Stone's attempt at like a epic from the 50s and 60s, like Ben-Hur or like Spartacus or something like that. And I put here in my notes, I'm like, Spartacus 60 did it way better. And it was 44 years before this. I will say, though, to build on what Sean said, the battles are great.
Yes.
Those two scenes.
Yes.
They go on for a little long. Again, the whole editor not being there. But I really do like how the first one was shot. And there's my favorite shot of the whole film actually is in that first battle scene where Darius is like commanding troops and he turns around and then looks forward. I don't know. There's some interesting camera work there. But yeah, the rest of it just surrounded by, I don't know. Great sets though. And I love the world map at the beginning. The Anthony Hopkins is like, look, that was fucking cool. I wish we stayed there longer, but that's just me.
There was like you to chime in on the set stuff. Like the sets are great. The costuming, to my knowledge, looked okay. What suffered to me is directing, acting, and editing. And for me, the hardest thing that I saw, and I think I understand the reasoning behind it, but the masking of it would pertain to this, but I really think it comes down to just poor coverage, poor directing in terms of variety of takes, and probably a method actor just trying new things every time, once every single take, and therefore nothing is continually round. And so then you try to mask that with psychosis. And the thing is that I noticed a lot during a lot of it seems to be mainly when Colin Farrell was doing a lot of expressive emotes, we'll just say that, there seems to be a jump cut to another take while he's not even starting to yell. And a lot of that comes to what it seems like what they're trying to do is almost like psychosis, there's a fake reality, but the reality is this, or this weird kind of parallel kind of thing. And what that hides to me is just bad coverage and bad direction to nail down take to take of the same feeling and stuff. That means your actors are erratic, or you've given them enough freedom to do it, but it's not what you wanted, or you didn't get, or you only got it once. And so there's a lot of that in this whole entire film, where it's a lot of erratic behavior in the direction and the editing particularly. And I think where that thrives is in the battle stuff. But the problem I have with the battle stuff is that the coverage is shitty because it's early aughts, so it's Bourne Ultimatum, Bourne Identity style filmmaking where you have, middle of the horse up when you might need a wide to have that kind of coverage to show that they're flanking left or flanking right, or they're trying to flank them around or whatever. And they did that with some of the CG Battlefield stuff, but it just felt so erratic. And I think that's where the battle thrives in the sense it feels chaotic. I mean, Sean, interrupt me if you think I'm right, but like chaotic in the coverage and the way they showed it. But like there are times I'd want wides, and I'm like, dude, show that these elephants are coming, and they did sometimes, but it was just crazy, Brian.
It was like it was directed by a cocaine addict. Oh wait, it was all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
But something I want to build off quickly while you're there. It does really fit into that early like aesthetic. It reminded me in a lot of ways of like a early prequel Star Wars wannabe. Like the CGI was so polished in a way like that in some of the battle sequences, I think. And like the blood was so red and everything.
Yeah.
And like you think about Troy, which was the same year, I'm pretty sure.
I'll look that up real quick.
And like it's so much better and so much well done and on point, and it tells the story of Troy. While, this just shows it just was all over the place. It's such a big fucking story. Alexander. Okay. It's like, one of the top 5 most amazing human beings of all time. Like, how do you tell that story? It's impossible to tell the whole thing. And that's what Oliver Stone did.
Well, Oliver Stone decided to compress the history, get it raw, and pack it into areas that it didn't actually happen in the true story. But as far as we know, the true story.
That as well, right? That's the thing, because how the Romans loved fucking Alexander and all the lore that was added to it over the years and everything.
Yes.
How old it is.
I'll just get it out of the way. Basically, all the tales we know of Alexander, the surviving narratives that we use, there's a guy called The Campaigns of Alexander by a guy called Arrian. He has a longer Roman name. He's writing in about 200 AD. There's a guy Plutarch who you've heard of, but he's writing the early BCs. And another author who's writing in about 70 AD, somewhere around there. They're all writing about centuries after this has happened, and they're using sources that are lost to us. So the referencing sources by Ptolemy, Ariovistus was a siege engineer, some other people who were there with Alexander, their sources are gone. And these sources that we have for Alexander's life, are written almost 3 centuries afterwards. And so a lot of them are interpretations on the Roman story, or they're just myths that are added on. I mean, in Arrian, he basically starts by saying, I have referenced Ptolemy and Ariovistus, I believe, for my books, and where they differ, I go with one which I think is better, which I think makes more sense, or I go with Ptolemy, because Ptolemy is a kin, and it would be very bad for a kin to lie. I mean, that's literally what he says, and like, why would Ptolemy have it? Why would he lie, At one point, he references that Ptolemy, when they're in Egypt, they go to him and Alexander and some other mates go to a shrine, the shrine of, the god's name escapes me, and it's very important, it's going to come back to me. But he says, well, they were guided there by talking snakes, and so Aaron goes, well, that must be true, because why would he lie? So they were guided there by talking snakes. So it's just, that's what we're dealing with, is that everything we know in Alexander, we have to base on these sources, but they could be wrong, or none of this could have happened. Obviously we know this thing, Alexander's campaigns generally happen, but the exact details and a lot of the details in the battles, we just don't know if this is actually true. So Oliver Stone just decided to fuck it up anyway. Sorry, Mike.
No, seriously, like just, imagine this, okay? So imagine World War II happens, just for people who are listening. World War II happens, and everything that's written about it from primary sources and secondary sources gets destroyed, and then 300 years later, people are trying to figure out the story of what went down in World War II. That's about where we're at as far as the story of Alexander.
I completely agree, and the best way to describe it has already been done before with Idiocracy. The un-Nazified the world.
Then the
They go to that museum, and it's like the dinosaurs are being controlled by Nazis because they have no understanding of the past. They're grasping at it and what they have, and that's all we are. Sean told me something like 2 weeks ago I keep coming back to. And if I get you wrong, let me know. You said that history is grasping through cracks in a door.
History is a locked room, and all we can do is look through the holes, the keyhole, and the cracks in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We can never get in.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's 100% true.
So if we have like 2 cracks in a keyhole, fuck.
Yeah, we have
But,
2
like,
cracks
you
in a
know-
keyhole, but they're like 50 feet in front of us, so we're trying to look through.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's going on.
It's a bitch, yeah.
Hey
It's a
Sean,
bitch.
let's find Troy.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on, we
it's-
got this. You know, like,
But yeah, I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
it's seriously,
yeah.
if they were to try to describe World War II in 300 years, I mean, what is that going to look like, you know?
99% of history is lost within one generation because it's wasted on ex-wives and people like, you know, the bulge, I used to cut a BAR down or something, and somebody doesn't give a shit because they're driving to Thanksgiving. And then somebody that cares about that pertinent fact or whatever. Same thing with all of history. Like, you know what we did with the bodies at whatever battle in 1066 Hastings? You know, it's just unfortunately how it goes. So, yeah, we're just grasping at the past.
We're trying to understand what happened and why it happened, and
We'll never know about the Fallschmagers that invaded Kabul.
God damn it, Brian.
Zondo Commando 72 lost to history.
And it sucks because it's like,
piss.
you know,
You can edit that out. Fuck you. Hey,
I did last time. It just still cracked me up.
what? Do you want me to just get up and walk away?
No. I appreciate it. No, it
I'd
just
still
made me
bitch about
laugh.
that. You'd be like, "Oh, Mike's gone. Why is he gone?"
I'm not.
No, I want to hear the bowl get activated.
It's like a sleeper cell word, you know. Like, no, go piss. You're fine.
That was his code word.
It just made me laugh. But like the crazy thing is like, you know, I understand like the interpretation of source material and all that stuff. Like, again, it can't be one for one, especially something that's old. You know, like, I know Troy 2000. By the way, Brian, to cycle back, Troy is the same year, so for
I knew it,
with a
yes.
budget of 185 million or something close to that, and Alexander was 155 million.
I saw that in 4th grade. I definitely should not have seen that.
Like Troy, I understand Troy is not one for one. Duh. But like, that's so much better of a fucking delivery system for mythology. Or not mythology, but
Well, that's essentially mythology.
is it mythology? Okay, thank you.
It's essentially,
So like,
yeah.
so like, you know, that I understand. It's not going to be one for one, and it's going to have some play with the fucking things it does, and the story tied with it. I know Orlando Bloom didn't kill fucking Brad Pitt. That's impossible. So like, you know, my point is like,
What are you
know-
talking about?
yeah.
Paris
yeah.
killed Achilles.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
the legend goes.
But like that movie's fine. It's aged, but it's fine. This is something entirely. Like, again, I was not ready for an acid trip. Like, I just couldn't take what it was dishing out. It was just rough.
It's a very well cast acid trip, and it's insane to see where people went after this. Like all the people that were in Game of Thrones and shit.
Yeah, the Hound
right.
is in this. Yeah,
Yes, he's
I was like, fuck.
yeah. I forget his name.
Kratos, right?
Yarp.
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 But
Narp.
you know, I get a lot of Thin Red Line vibes from this movie. Like a grandiose idea, shot well with good props and good sets, but just with no aim. And,
Yeah.
It misses the mark. Yeah.
And then the studio said, "You know, you have a delivery date, right?"
It very much feels like that.
As far as production wise,
It very much feels like hey, well, you shot it, so we'll just push it out, make whatever.
It's not like there's like mountains in the distance, and Alexander's like, "What is a mountain? Why is snow up there?"
Oh, we don't need to cut that wound out for the Thin Red Line fans that still listen to us.
I like that movie. I still like that movie.
We still get crap from that. So, 'cause
Who
we didn't
gives a
like it.
fuck?
I love that movie.
Who gives a fuck?
It's a great movie for what it is.
Like,
No, I always come back to that film. I'm not gonna lie, but it is. You have to look at it what it is. And if you can't laugh at yourself, then fuck
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Don't cuss though. Don't
know.
do that.
yeah, we can't fucking swear
no.
on this podcast.
don't fucking
It's-
swear.
Yeah.
If you
Sons
if
of
you don't
bitches.
if you can't stand swearing, I suggest was it
Sorry.
Combat Christians?
Okay.
Combat Christians.
Yes, exactly. Combat Christians is a great alternative. I will propose this. Maybe we can swear only in French.
Nah, fuck
Suck
that.
Merde.
Suck les blood, man.
Male.
Putain!
This film is merde.
Oh, ho.
Yeah,
Male.
they're frog legs.
Listen to
You guys don't even know how to say
Mad.
fucking French. That's cute. I love it.
No, I don't.
You know?
I just said it.
Wait on you.
I know. I knew you said it.
Putain.
After you said that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to know no French to say fuck you.
I can say fuck you, dumb son bitch.
Yeah, but it's hot.
That's what I sound like when I do my southern accent. I didn't realize
that's
that.
why. Yeah.
Every time
Yeah.
I just done that generic southern accent for a long time, and I sound like fucking Jonesy. Like I met him, and I'm like, oh, that is my caricature.
You are the sister fucker that I make fun of.
Yes. Yep.
Besides the battles, I did like the fact how like it showed how he was pulled in like a million different directions, like between his
So was
mother
this film.
and then where he is. Oh, exactly.
Allegedly.
Because like the whole time
Allegedly.
it was like, bro, this is the longest walk in the woods ever. It's like, can we
Like
go
his
home?
relationship
No.
with his mother is like purely conjectural from this movie. I mean, we know he had a good relationship with his mother and he was close, but like none of their letters have survived. We don't know private conversations they had.
Well, honestly, if Angelina Jolie was my mother, I'd probably want to bang her too. Like,
Yeah, well, but she becomes an Olympias. She becomes more prominent after his death, in the Wars of the Succession. So it's like, it's just she's so shoehorned into the narrative. That's why like it just brings you out of it, and it just doesn't seem to fit because it really doesn't. In like the great narrative of Alexander's life, it doesn't fit to like shoehorn his mother into all these roles that it doesn't make sense.
okay, so the original Alexander, right? His dad was Philip, right? That's the King
Yes.
Philip.
Or was it?
No,
That's who it was.
that's nobody knows. But like,
Well,
so as the story
it
goes,
was Philip,
as the
but
story
he would
goes,
claim Zeus. Yeah.
yes, as the story goes, so I guess. So that relationship that she had with him, his mom, I'm not good with names, you know this, but like you said, Angelina Jolie's character,
Olympias.
right?
Yeah.
So they were together, conceived a child apparently, who was Alexander, right?
Yes.
And then they were married, or were they just together?
They were married, but the Macedonian elite, at least as far as we know, practiced polygamy. So she was his seventh wife, I believe.
Fuck!
So they're going around like, oh, I've always loved him. He's always been my husband. Like she's the seventh. So obviously there's tensions in between, wives of one guy. Obviously there's going to be tension there, but it's just like they're just written right out of the narrative. Like it was just Olympias, and then he married this other woman, and they were going to divorce. It seems like Angelina Jolie maybe conspired against them. That's a possibility for
Yeah.
Philip's death, but it's not the only possibility.
Right.
Because they were the Agriad dynasty, was what who ruled the Macedonians. That's where Philip and Alexander belonged to, the Agriads, who were allegedly descended from Hercules. That was their claim to rule the Macedonians. They were polygamous, and murder was a very common. Murder or death in battle were the most common ways that a king would die. Almost none of them died peaceful in bed.
Yeah.
So his murder is not. It's obviously speculated, but that's also a very Roman thing to blame the wife or the stepmom or the evil mother. That's a very Roman trait.
Yeah.
So now that's also called into. We have to call that into question.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just there's so many things, and so okay, and then as the story goes, so that whole thing happens, and then so Philip gets killed publicly. Did that actually happen?
So that actually happened. He was in a procession of the 12 gods, and the 13th icon that was kind of brought in, I'll use that word, was of him. So he was kind of promoted himself as a god, which was a very common thing in the ancient world. It's very common. Then a bodyguard who was also supposedly scorned. He was a former younger lover of Philip, that little Greek love thing,
Yep.
who Philip gave to an older person, another companion who raped him. So that part you see where he gets dragged out and screaming, that happened as far as we know, and he had a personal grudge against Philip. So it's very possible that he killed him in public like that. That happened in the theater. He killed him out of spite, or he was paid by the Greeks, or he was paid by or not the Greeks. Sorry, the Persians. The Persian king could have paid him off because Philip had
Yeah.
also invaded Persia at this point. So there's a possibility that the Persians did actually pay him, but that is what the Alexander would go and say. That was also one of the justifications for his war. But he was stabbed and was killed running away, so he can't tell the story.
And so as he's stabbed, as Philip's stabbed, like it showed in the film, then all of a sudden they're like, well, how did Alexander, like, did they know that it was his seventh? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like,
yeah, no, it's polygamy. They were all married at once.
No, but like, why Alexander? Like, what?
Because Alexander was the only presumptuous heir other than that young baby who he then had purged. And it's debated whether it was Olympias or him who had the mother and the father and that child murdered. It could have been either one of them.
So, okay, this guy's got 7
opportunity.
wives.
Yep.
And he couldn't knock any more than like 1 or 2 up?
Yeah. That's essentially what happened. A lot of these wives are married as Philip, who really is a titan in his own day, he brought really all of Greece under his own control, except the Spartans. But not because he couldn't conquer the Spartans, because they simply refused to get on board with the League of Corinth, as he was called. He was made hegemon of the Greeks. The Spartans decided not to go against that, so every time they made inscriptions of like Philip, hegemon of the Greeks, leader of the Greeks, except the Spartans, that was meant as an insult, not as we were afraid to conquer the Spartans.
Okay.
Just need to make that clear.
Yep.
So he married several wives for treaty alliances, maybe some were for love, like the younger one, or to try and placate nobles. When you have polygamy, it's very versatile. You can marry more wives for multiple purposes, which is what Olympias, originally she was from Epirus, I believe, which is just basically the Dalmatian coast of the Balkans.
Okay.
Like modern day Croatia, if I remember it correctly. So she was from one of the tribes in that area. So it cemented an alliance with those tribes there.
Okay.
And so, any son that was of his wife's or that Philip recognized as his heir was the presumed heir.
And so
he did recognize Alexander. That's,
okay. Yep. And so then he just gets crowned immediately right there after his father's killed.
Because there always has to be a monarch.
Yeah. So,
that's how monarchies
was
work.
It that immediate as far as the story goes? Okay.
As far as we know, yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that whole fight with his father as he trips over drunk, and he says, "This is the man who will lead you to Asia, who can't conquer the next couch." That's true. That's as far as we know, it supposedly happened. Now, whether or not Alexander meant that as he said it as a joke and it angered Philip, or he said it like purposely hurt and full of emotion, as Colin Farrell has, we don't know. It very well could have been a joke, because that was the monarch. As far as monarchies go, the Macedonian was a very sort of familiar kind of monarchy. It's not like the high-minded society monarchies you'd see in Europe in the Middle Ages and so much, and as the Persian kin of kins had, which we'll get into, caused some conflicts later on. But it was a much more companions, like they're called the companion cavalry, the foot companions is what the phalanx was called. It's very informal, so these big drinking banquets were pretty common. So he very well could have meant that as a joke, but Philip got angry and had him exiled for a few years.
And were they not drinking out of pewter at this point? Or was that later?
Yes, the silver, pewter. They had, Philip was really master of Greece at this point, so it could have been gold.
But I don't know how old pewter is, and like, because I know they used bronze and like they had iron at that point, but like, because pewter, if you pour alcohol into pewter, it'll siphon a shitload of the lead out, and you'll drink it and you'll go nuts, and then you eventually get lead poisoning.
As far as I know, I've never heard of something like that.
In the Greek time.
In the Greek time. I mean, it very well could have. It could have just been they don't know how to diagnose lead poisoning, so the guy just died.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was just asking. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So
the funny thing, I was just looking up. Well, I was gonna make the joke and say I didn't know the Irish invaded fucking Greece, but
well,
I
it makes a certain sense in that they would have a different access. They would have a different accent from the Greeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Ron, hey, Birch, I want to share something quick.
You're gonna have to cut all this out, Nathan, because
There's no way. Yeah.
I just wanted to show you guys that.
Dale Dye was showing it with sticks and Corona bottle caps.
Oh,
That's
God damn it.
And he fucking
You
exited
shit
out.
kid.
Jesus Christ.
What a
But again,
fucking
as far as
retard.
we know, that's
No.
And then we never saw Brian
Never mind.
again.
And that's also like in Gargamela. That's all fucking mashed between stories of other battles as well.
Yeah, we'll just wait till dipshit gets.
Wait till Brian gets back. I'm gonna get a beer while I'm.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna yeah.
Yeah, go take a
be right
piss
back,
break.
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
God.
Yeah. Nate, you can just cut all that out. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna call.
All right, we're gonna
There
take,
he
take
goes.
5, everybody. So
Yeah, Sean wants to go get another beer. If you want to draw up a conversation with me, we can just wait till they get back. We can.
Well, I just wanted to show that because it's funny. Because
It is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know
Well-
why they brought Dale Dye in.
it's so ridiculous because it's so early aughts. Because it's like,
Well, he is riding off a fucking Band of Brothers and the success of that.
yeah, but not even that though. Like, it's the way that doc is made. It's just like, it's off that energy of like, the early aughts. It like just reminds me of Discovery Channel when I was growing up. It's like, yeah, we're making a cool movie, and it's like, I'm in Hollywood Hills, and I'm learning how to be Alexander. And it's like, oh my god, it's like,
yes, just like the plains of Iraq.
and it's like, yeah, it's like change the channel. It's like Fallujah, and change the channel again. It's like you're gonna get slimed. Like it's like Keenan and Kel.
Kids' Choice Awards.
Oh my god, Kids Choice Awards.
I mean, I mean, like the most ridiculous thing about this whole thing, I think, is like to chime in what you said earlier about the casting, Brian. It's like I do agree there are some heavy hitters in here, but I feel like it's heavy hitters for like Thin Red Line, where it's like I'm going to be in an Oliver Wilde movie. Hell yeah! Like
Colin Farrell's a great actor. I really like Colin Farrell. It's just like
I like Colin Farrell too. But
Dude Drops Dawn. Yeah.
Dude Drops Dawn. I love. I mean, he was. I mean,
Doesn't have the
to
Irish
talk about
curse.
someone. Talk about someone who like has seen Colin Farrell a bunch. Like I loved him as the Penguin. He fucking rocked that shit.
Yeah.
You know, when he
True
was all done
Detective
up on
season
that.
2, people complain about, but he's really good in that.
Yeah,
Banshees
he's
of
really good.
Inisherin. He's a
in-
really good actor.
In Bruges, he's fucking
Oh, that's a
amazing.
great
in
movie.
that.
Yeah,
I
I've
love
yet to
that.
see that.
Yeah,
That's a
like
great
there's wonderful whatever that recent one. The same guy who did in Bruges, he did another one with the same guys. It's like something Banshee.
Yes, the one that Sean
Yeah,
just said.
Islands of
Yeah, the
the.
Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, did you,
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
really
sorry, I
good. It's
didn't
really
hear that.
sad
Okay.
if you like animals, so I wouldn't watch any of them. It's very good.
Why don't you want to be my friend anymore?
In Bruges is great until it's so depressing you don't want to watch it anymore.
it gets real depressing really quick. You're like,
yeah,
oh,
really
my God,
fast.
this
You're like,
is-
oh,
I'm upset.
oh. All I remember in Bruges is just like, it's an inanimate fucking object. You're an inanimate fucking object. Fucking love that. But no, to talk on Colin Farrell, like I think Colin Farrell is a good actor. I don't think it's the acting. I don't think it's the actor that's the problem. All these people are good actors, maybe except Jared Leto. But
It definitely was not morbid time when
but it was not morbid time.
It was
yeah.
not morbid.
But there's some really interesting B class actors I've seen so much stuff later on over the last couple of years. I can't remember their names, but you know their faces and you see them. Well, I don't remember the names,
Well,
dude.
no.
They're like English actors.
They're
Well, like-
it's
well, like-
a really good B-level talent. I mean, you wouldn't know who they are, but you know the faces.
I know. Well,
That's
no,
the guy
no,
who
no.
gave the hot
okay,
dog to the
okay,
guy in
all
the
right,
background,
schmuck. All right, schmuck. All
They're
right,
so
hold on.
good, I don't remember
This
them.
this
already.
is the
I thought,
Northeast. This is the fucking Northeast podcast right now because Mike's taking
Yeah, you fucking
taking a piss.
logical loop.
But
Unbelievable.
you know you fucking schmuck.
fucking salty
Okay.
sailor. Yeah.
Oh, look at
Fuck.
me. I know all these great
But-
actors. I love them. They're so great. What's that one?
All right,
I don't know.
all right,
I love
hold
them
on,
so
wait,
much.
wait,
Can't
wait,
fucking
wait,
remember a
wait,
single one
wait.
of them.
All
That's,
right,
that's
all
the
right.
guy who's got the eyes. That's the guy that's got the eyes.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
you
The
know.
two Connecticut people can't fucking jump on me. Okay,
Fuck you.
the B class actors.
Such blood in the water.
all of you need to shut the fuck up.
You see their faces. You see their faces, but you never know their fucking names. They're in a ton of stuff. You know there's people like that you've watched, Brian. Don't give me a bunch of crap.
That's why they're called B-class actors. I'm saying that you're right in your allegations. It's like
You're tearing this family apart.
Betty White is because Betty White's an A-class actor. You know who Jake Gyllenhaal is?
List.
Yeah,
All right, Schmuck. I'll drop it. Fine.
we're on the same page, asshole.
You're all fucking retards because it's a list, not a class actor.
This is the
Oh,
thing that
whatever.
happened. This is the happens is that people from the Northeast argue about all being correct.
Yeah,
I
fuck
understand this. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, but you're all fucking retarded and wrong.
Well, Nathan is wrong, so I agree with that.
Yeah, well,
What makes
yeah.
this country great?
Anyways.
On that note,
Good acting, except for Jared Leto.
Are you doing sticker trivia?
yes, I was going to interject it. On that note, Nathan, put something here.
Oh, rim shot!
Oliver Stone is known for many things, like going to Vietnam. He shot a lot of movies too. But what famous 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger action flick is he credited with helping to write? The first person to send the name of this film to our Instagram or Facebook will get this week's sticker. No. They've been friends ever since.
I have no idea, actually. That's a good question.
It could be the obvious, which would be. I don't
No.
know. Okay.
Yeah, one more try.
I don't
There's
know.
three of you.
Damn, Nathan, you're really making it easy for him.
Well, I mean, I cut all this out. This is for
Yeah, no, it'll all be.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Or I bleep it for fun.
Sean, one last try. No. Good guess, though.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I was
He
gonna
wrote
say
for a
that.
bunch
I
of
was-
That's a-
years, and it was bumping
That's a
around.
great question, dude.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah,
a. You're getting a lot better at the.
Nobody's gonna
trivia
get it. I know.
questions. Yeah, no, you're getting. Hey, if nobody gets it, nobody gets it. You can't win every week.
When people don't get them, I just give them to Sean.
I love
Yeah.
that movie. It's a good
I
movie.
fucking hate that movie
it's
so
a
much.
Good, it's a good movie in its own world of
Oh,
movie.
I fucking hate that movie so
It's
much.
like this movie where it would be like long and just.
That's the thing is,
Hey,
I
guess
find
what?
it long and boring.
I've
yeah.
never seen
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
so
What?
yeah.
What?
I've never seen
It's
it.
you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate
Dude.
it. There's
I
no
might-
in between.
Depending on what's going on, you might have a VHS and a VCR in your house.
Oh God.
I'll bring it up. We could. As
It's
long as you
so
don't fall asleep to The
fucking-
Rock again, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
But you also, Brian, you know me, like I'm really like a retard with my selection and like what I like and don't like. You might actually like it a lot.
Oh yeah. No,
'Cause-
I
yeah,
know about it.
yeah.
I've heard about everything about it. It's just one of those films.
Yeah,
that
you're
just
either gonna
works.
love it or you're gonna hate it.
It's like
Yeah.
like that time that you hadn't seen Legally Blonde, and I told you, listen, you just gotta get through the first 20 minutes, and you're gonna love it. And you know,
Correct.
I know that's your favorite movie of all time now. So
I actually Sophie made me watch that, and you weren't wrong.
no, I mean, I know you got the purse afterwards. I saw, but
Stop it.
Sean.
Like this film,
Sean.
I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a steaming hunk of shit,
well, you can
but
only
it still got made.
you can
So-
only repeat the plot so many times. You know,
that's the
like-
thing is there was so much taken from other like Nate said, there was a lot of times, and I'm glad I'm not alone on this because I was like, this is like fucking Braveheart, not just with the accents, but it's like, what are you doing? Like this has already been done better.
Just from another aisle. Hide.
Why did Angelina Jolie need to have that like weird Eastern European accent she was doing? She just could have been
it was so
American.
bad
It would have been
too.
a different accent.
Oh my
Like,
god, exactly.
she
Did
needs
all
to do that.
did all Macedonian women dress like that, Sean?
Sure. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe they did. They wore dresses.
in the defense, you did say she was from Croatia, right?
Yeah.
In
Somewhere
historical-
around there. Yeah, it's
Chris.
Dalmatia, right? Yeah. It
Ju-
could have been like
just devil's
Slovenia.
advocate.
It
Yeah,
could have been
just devil's-
Slovenia. Yeah.
Yeah,
So like,
just
yeah.
devil's advocate.
So she should have sounded like someone's Slovakian grandmother.
No, she just should have used a regular voice.
Her accent was
annoying.
awful. It was awful. It was so bad. It's like, hey, just talk. Like you said, Sean, like, okay, so the Macedonians had different accents. Okay, we could deal with the Scottish and the Irish accents because it represents the difference in accents that the Macedonians had versus like, you know, the Athenians, you know, all the Spartans and all that shit, and the Thracians. It doesn't matter. That's fine. Just don't make Angelina fucking do a shitty rendition of an Eastern European Slavic accent.
There was one thing that in this film that it was like the very end. It was Anthony Hopkins' like lasting speech of everything, and that really did cement to me the idea of someone who is almost doing like a play. Like this film felt
Yes.
like a Shakespearean
he's a good
play.
actor.
Well,
All he had to do was walk around the little set on the studio, and then he went home. So.
Anthony Hopkins is pretty
Phenomenal actor,
known
yep.
known for having doing Shakespearean play stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean to say is that the whole film, the way it's laid out, and the dynamic of the talking back and forth and everything, it feels like a stage play. It's the length of dialogue that you hear, and it's just like
and the dramatics and the fucking over the top fucking presentation of the situation. Like, not again. Well, the battles. Let's talk about that in a second. I want to get more into that. But yeah,
it would be great on a stage. I feel like this would be great on a stage,
And
but in a movie,
exactly.
it's not. Same way how stage acting is very much different from a film, and to me, it's like the line delivery and everything is very much stage acting versus that.
Maybe that's what Oliver Stone was going for, because the Romans also love stage plays.
And to me, it just, you saying all this, it just makes me think of Jurassic Park. And like, you know, how he's just the presenter in that, in a way, like, come to my park.
Oh,
you know, it's like, but he's advanced in age by the point he makes this movie, so it's more limited role. But
they aged the hell out of him in this film. Like he was not that old at that point. Like,
he's about that old.
He looks
now.
like now.
Yes, now.
2004.
Yeah. It's 20 years. So,
but
like,
unlike the plays of Sophocles and the plays of the Romans, I want to forget this play immediately and never ever see it again. This will not be taught to high schoolers.
But what about the war elephants, though?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
What battle do we want to start with? We want to start with Gaugamela / Battle of Isis, which is two.
Let's go in order, I guess.
He fought Isis too? Fuck yeah.
Let's go in order.
Successful.
So the first battle is the Battle of what again? I forgot the name.
Gaugamela. And like I said, this is Oliver Stone is like taken. Nathan's made himself.
Sorry. No. Brian's thinking, oh, they fought ISIS? Holy shit.
Hell yeah, brother.
Well, this is Oliver Stone has like compressed this story down to like, it's just shrunk it down to like this house, and he shrunk it down to like
it's a fragment,
just a
it's
desk.
A fragment of the
like
house.
it's just it's super tiny. It's a fragment. Mm-hmm. The battle of Gaugamela is in October. I think October 1st.
How do you pronounce that?
Gaugamela. In the three.
Don't give him shit for mispronouncing shit, Brian.
I'm gonna drive to your house and smack you. 327, 328.
Do not ever give Sean shit for mispronouncing something, Brian. I'll fucking back him 100% every day of the fucking week. Fuck you. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It follows pretty roughly what we know about the battle, roughly because, again, Oliver Stone has condensed another battle, which is the Battle of Isis, which was fought by, I forget what, I think it's one of the towns is named after Isis.
Did they have Toyota Tacomas?
Isis is a fucking Egyptian god, you fancy little fuck.
Fucking body, fucking God.
Sorry, Sean. I'm sorry. I'm Sean.
But that is another battle. That's the first battle that Darius fought Alexander, and Alexander fought Darius. I guess Darius, but Darius III. That's the first.
He's
battle.
not a dude in Baltimore, so
yeah, no.
Oh,
and that is that first time that.
All right, everyone, shut your mouths. Let Sean speak.
in that battle, the Battle of Isis, which is a whole, I think, 2 years before the Battle of Gaugamela, maybe a year to 2 years. I've exact timing. This is a lot of history. We got to condense all in here.
So where was the Battle of Isis fought geographically?
That was fought by like the hook of Syria and Turkey, where like Syria and Turkey meet.
Gotcha. Yep.
It's around that area right there.
Okay.
So it's right before Alexander started to push down to the coast of Phoenicia, modern day Israel,
the Levant,
and into Egypt, and the Levant. Yes. So it's around that area because they were next to the Mediterranean Sea as well. So the Persians deployed along the sea and a river. Alexander attacks them. He beats off Darius. That whole scene where Alexander is charging to get to Darius, charging through to get to his chariot and his wounded leg, that happened at that battle. And after that battle, he captures Darius's family. his wife, his mom, and his wife, and I believe his sister too, because the kin of kins travels with his whole entourage.
And
He
this is the
travels
Battle
with
of
everything.
Isis.
This is the Battle of Isis.
So
Battle of Gaugamela happens
go ahead.
way later. So that whole story is put into the Battle of Gaugamela.
It's all Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
got it.
he's
Brian?
just kind of meshed the two together to make just
Yeah,
one.
okay.
So Alexander can have this grandiose speech that makes no sense. But after the Battle of Isis, he pushes down into the Levant. He besieges and takes Tyre. He besieges Gaza and takes Gaza, and really anyone who resists, which is really only those two cities, because at Tyre he has most of the male population crucified and enslaves the rest.
Oof.
Cough, cough, but he's there for the freedom of all people. He pushes down into Egypt. Egypt has never liked Persians. It's always revolted against Persian rule, so they kind of welcome him into Egypt. He founds the city of Alexandria. Yeah, there's no real battle for Egypt. He's kind of welcomed in.
Okay.
He's crowned pharaoh. He gets the dual crown of the two
Yeah.
Niles, upper and the lower Nile. He founds Egypt, where Homer told him in a dream to found Alexandria on the city of Pharakos, on the island of Pharakos. Sorry. He founds the city there. He travels to the temple of Siwa, which is for the god of Ammon. That's the name of the god, the horned ram god of Egypt, head of the gods, who's associated with Zeus. After that, he claims to be the son of Ammon. Ammon. That's the right pronunciation. I got it.
Ammon. Yeah.
Then they learn that Darius is marshaling another army. He sends various offers to get his family back. He also sends an offer to Alexander to say, if you leave now and give me my family back, I'll give you the western half of the empire. And Alexander basically goes, well, I already have it, so I'm not going to do it. Sorry, Brian.
Just really quickly. So, like I mentioned earlier, I know the Romans really liked Alexander, and I know that there's a very famous mosaic in Pompeii that was found of Alexander. And now, is that of the spear incident?
That is the Battle of Isis.
Oh,
that
okay.
is the spear incident, as he's going to capture Darius in his chariot, and he runs away.
And did that happen?
Is the Battle of Isis. Yes, that happened. As far as we know, that happened. From the sources tell us that happened in the Battle of Granicus, because there was a battle of Alexander led to capture him and his royal chariot.
But it wasn't the battle that was portrayed in this film,
not the one that's portrayed in this film. That's the one Battle of Isis that he's meshed into the Battle of
which
Gaugamela.
should have been fucking portrayed.
Yeah, it would have. Just show both. Have another big third battle.
We ran out of time there. Yeah. We ran out of time.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't matter. Like that's a fucking bullshit excuse. It's like that should have been for context, because I'm learning this right now and it's fucking awesome. Like
Yeah, but Angelina Jolie was contracted for 2 hours of screen time. Yeah, so.
Yeah, no. So this battle in the film is a combination of these two battles.
Yes.
So now let's talk about the one that's portrayed.
So Gaugamela, as they march into Iraq, modern day Iraq,
Babylon, yeah, been there.
Babylonia.
It's a beautiful area.
Yeah, we made the wreckage of Babylon at a tank park in the Iraq War. As they march there, Alexander could either follow the Tigris, or he can go north and follow the Euphrates. So he follows the Euphrates River north, which is the more difficult path, but it's the cooler path, because the Tigris is south. It gets to be 120 degrees, so he goes north, try to catch Darius off foot. Basically, Darius has amassed a huge army. The Persian Empire, the Achaemenian Empire, is huge. They don't really have a standing army because there's never been a constant state of war, never a need to have it. People, you may ask, like, what about the immortals that Xerxes had? They don't seem to exist at this time, if they ever existed at all in Xerxes' time, because actually, there's no real Persian source that mentions them. There's depictions of soldiers with colorful tunics and wicker shields that are depicted on Persian architecture. That could be the immortals. We don't know.
I don't know.
At
this
point,
see the movie 300? I mean,
yeah, they were ninjas. It's great.
Yeah.
They don't exist. So the Persians really have
sitting there. So this is right now what you're saying is this battle took place just north of modern day Baghdad.
Yeah, not north of modern day Baghdad. It is probably Kurdistan today. Probably that area.
Oh, so northern Iraq.
Northern
by
northern Iraq.
Yeah,
it's
Mosul
desolate.
then?
Yeah.
Or?
No, northern Kurdistan is way north of Mosul.
Yeah, somewhere around there by the Tigris.
Eastern Turkey?
Yeah, it's up in that. It's by Syria and
by
Turkey.
the Stanistans, that kind of area, or
northern Iraq.
Oh, okay,
northern Iraq. It is in Iraq today. It is in northern Iraq. Jesus Christ. He named like 6 countries. Northern Iraq. They kind of bump into each other. They drive off Alexander drives off a Persian cavalry force of about 1,000 cavalry. That indicates that the Persians are in the area. They take a smaller force, just the army. They kind of leave the heavier baggage train behind. This includes Darius's army, Darius's family. They get left behind. They march about 20 miles to where they meet the Persian forces. They camp about 7 miles from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander waits a day to give the men rest. Darius is constantly standing to, organizing his army. This army he has is huge. I mean, Arrian, the Roman source that we usually follow, he listed at about 1 million men, which is impossible. At least 100,000, maybe border on 50,000.
It's still a lot of fucking people.
That's a million men for back then.
Huge. It's huge. It's almost an incalculable amount, basically.
Yeah.
Most of it is cavalry. A huge chunk of it is infantry. The cavalry is the cream of the Persian army. That is their experienced horsemen. Apparently, he has men from Afghanistan, which is Bactria, Indians. Apparently, there are war elephants. His main plan
in this
he's
battle,
going to use. Yes, apparently there were elephants in this battle, but they didn't play a very big role, if any at all. But apparently they were there. So that we'll get into that later, whether or not they knew about the elephants, which is bullshit.
Interesting.
So Darius's plan is basically he's been defeated by Alexander before, so now his plan is basically simple. He's going to use the scale of his army to sort of envelop and crush Alexander. He has heavy scythe chariots that he's going to just kind of rush on. He's prepared the ground ahead of him, so clear of all obstacles, that the scythe chariots are kind of going to rush in and crash into the main phalanx to break it up, where the horsemen will then be able to kind of go in between the phalanxes and kill them.
Do the work,
Yes. Then the infantry can kind of just mop up and as they run away and are crushed, because the Persian infantry isn't really trained. It's kind of just levies that are recruited, given a shield and a spear. Archers are obviously a little more specialized, but we don't know exactly how many he had. But the Persian infantry is really just there to, as the cavalry wins, they're there to push forward and mop up. Yep, that's really what they're for. Alexander kind of sees this, and it's pretty obvious what the plan is, so he spreads his forces out as much as he can. There's a Thessalian cavalry, who are really this cream of the crop cavalry, with one of the phalanx units on the left. The main phalanx is in the center. The main Macedonian phalanx is the cream of the crop of the army. The companion cavalry are on the right, with the light infantry behind them on the left, and that is where Alexander is stationed. Behind that phalanx, because there's no way they could spread the phalanx out the army to meet Darius's army, as to kind of prevent them from being encircled, what it is they have the Greek allies behind them. So if you want to picture the army, almost forms like a line, and it almost forms a triangle. The other army is there. The Greek allies are behind them in case anybody gets around. They could turn around, and the army could be defended from all sides. That is essentially what Alexander's battle plan was.
That's
and they have
brilliant.
to close and meet the allies. Yes. So, and in between are like the grooms, water bearers, grooms for the companion cavalry to take care of the horses and stuff. They're in between there, along with some light infantry, slingers, archers, cretin archers. In case anybody really gets through, they can also deal with it. So, as they advance, they march about 7 miles. In the morning, Alexander, there is an eclipse the night before. That part happens. The auguries are suspiciously all good for Alexander, as they see the slaughter of the bull. That's the usual practice before a battle, would be a sacrifice to the gods. Alexander would sacrifice every morning. Then you kind of read the entrails. That's what the priest does. You read the entrails of the slaughtered animal to gain the will of the gods. That's kind of how that works.
Yeah. So that was done before every battle.
Yes. Alexander would sacrifice every morning, whether that was to slaughter an animal or just burn incense to a certain god, usually Ammon or Zeus. That was a standard practice. So the Alexander's army deploys about 7 miles away from Darius, and they march in formation all the way up to them. So to do that, to keep a phalanx in formation, is to march that kind of distance in a perfect formation.
Dude,
ready
7
to go
miles
battle,
is a long way.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it speaks to the discipline of the army.
Especially in the desert, It's a long way. Yep.
Basically, the phalanx starts to veer to the right, away from the prepared ground for the chariots. That causes Darius to have to go early. He launches the chariots, and what the phalanxes do, as the chariots get closer, because they know that the chariots are really just going to smash into them and try to break up the formation as much as they can, whether they live or die is great, but they split and open up the formations, and that allows, because the horses are teams of 4 that are just being whipped, so the horses are not going to charge into the phalanx, they're going to go into the opening, because they don't want to charge into that. So they go into the opening where they're dealt with by the infantry, and apparently in the movie they seem to do this incalculable damage, but for as far as we know, they didn't. They kind of just went into there, they were dealt with archers and soldiers. This causes the horsemen to attack. They obviously can't break into the main phalanx, so they have to close. They just keep closing with the enemy and are driven back. On the Macedonian left, they're a little more successful as they're heavily outnumbered, but with Parmenion, all their horsemen sort of attack and start to flank, and they are somewhat successful, and eventually they do break into behind the Macedonian phalanx, but they go and they raid the baggage camp, which they're dealt with eventually by the Greek allies. Now on the right, which is what that was for.
Brilliant.
Instead of circling around to cut
brilliant.
through the phalanx, they're not trained, so they just go and they loot the baggage train.
It's brilliant.
So what happens on the right, as you saw in the movie, Alexander is moving to the right. Bessus, who will come into this story later, was on what is the Persians' left, tries to go around and flank Alexander to kind of encircle him through that. As he's doing that, the horses tire out. The light infantry the Macedonians have are now on top of the Persian cavalry. Now they have the companion cavalry attacking them, and the companion cavalry have infantry to fall back behind as the Persian cavalry tries to attack them.
Yeah.
So the Macedonian has a place. The Macedonian cavalry can retreat behind the infantry, rest, regroup, and then attack again, while the Persian cavalry can't. While this happens, an opening in the Persian line opens up where Alexander is to take the royal bodyguard, the royal cavalry, his squadron through and circle around behind the Persians. And once this kind of happens, Darius realizes it's over. He turns and runs. Alexander is able to get some Parmenion and relieve him there, and the phalanx kind of just pushes forward and it just collapses. The Persian infantry can't stand up to the phalanx. They collapse and are slaughtered. The sources that we have, where did I write it down here? There was about 100 chariots, 50 in this, 100 in the center, 50 right, 50 left. All of them are basically failed. Arian says that 300,000 Persians are killed. Some say 90,000, some say 40,000, while Arian lists only 100 Macedonians killed. Another source says 300, another source says 500. So that's where it kind of doesn't make sense. Again, most casualties in ancient warfare happen when you run away and you're stabbed in the back. That's when the chaos happens. That's when most of the slaughter happens. So that's why there's this big discrepancy. We don't exactly know. That doesn't depict how many wounded. We think maybe these sources are just describing the Macedonians. They're not talking about the Greek allies or anything like that. That's a pretty big differentiation in cavalry. And
they're also probably talking about just deaths, not casualties.
Yes, they did not mention the wounded. In this, I mean, in the depiction, it's pretty good. I like the movie. Again, it's meshed together, the two battles, but just the amount of dust and the chaos and the blood and the screaming, that part I really liked. Like, it really depicted that well.
The dust was something that I was like, yes, in that environment, anytime you move, anytime you walk, there's dust kicked up.
Yeah. And imagine now at least 200, like maybe 200,000 men in one place.
Right. And it's like,
insane.
You're not gonna be able to fucking see. It's like modern gun smoke, with dust. It's just like it's I love that a lot. So, Brian,
I know we've been in the desert a lot recently, so this is a pretty good representation of it. Except they're missing one thing. We always seem to talk
big,
about
hot, and pissed off
flies.
Well, it's not a micro level like movie.
No, I know,
That's
but
the thing.
I'm saying because we've been in the desert a lot recently. It's like, yeah, the dust was cool. Other things are cool, but are missing one thing.
I think the cool thing is that the like what Sean said, it's like I think the battle stuff and the depiction of battle stuff, because everything Sean had described in that first conflict, I was like, oh yeah, I saw that. Like, so I for the most part, I mean, Sean, I you probably said it a couple times, but just so cut and dry, do you think that their depiction of the actual battle represents everything you just said?
Yes, and again, he's meshed the Battle of Isis and Gaugamela together with that aspect of Alexander charging to get Darius.
Right.
But ultimately, yes, I think it is. I think this is one of the best depictions of ancient battles I've seen, it's a shame. Like I said, it's a shame that it's only these. There's only 2.
So as far as the weapons and the like things they were wearing, as far as we know,
I think
what
it's
do
really
you think
good.
about that? You think
I
it's
think
good?
It's really good. Yeah,
Cool.
I think it's good.
Excellent.
The Macedonians are different from the Greek hoplites in that they had the longer sarissa, which is about a 16-foot pike. You need
Yep.
2 hands to wield it. How they march in formation, how they use the pikes to kind of brace down.
Yep.
Because also, and their shields are just strapped around their shoulders that go on the left. The pike is held in the
They're a
right.
lot
So the shield you
smaller,
can
yeah.
kind of maneuver. It's smaller. The Macedonians, they may have had a leather or metal cuirass if they were armor if they were
Yeah.
more rich, whatever, but they were much lighter than the Greek hoplite. They would have had a helmet, and the helmets you see are actually correct. That kind of almost
They're all-
Roman style with the
and they're all
cheek
different,
guards.
too.
Yeah, and they're all different. Some with the beards. That's as far as we know. That is correct. The companion cavalry has what's called a Botian type helmet. That's more open, so he can see and hear. It's not like a medieval knight helmet. He can see. He can listen to the commands. That, as far as we know, is correct. So that's why I actually like it. But yeah, as you everyone has that photo of the phalanx. How do you defeat this? And it's all the spears layered down, but that's also to defend from missiles. You can't exactly hold the pike and raise the shield above your head. You can a little bit, but the pikes above you that are leveled above you gives you some sort of protection from arrows that rain down. It's not perfect, but it's better than
shit.
But if you have to hold the pike, that's a better defense than just standing, having nothing.
Here it comes.
Yeah, it's rather than have the shield up above you, in which case you wouldn't be able to hold the pike.
No,
so that's
that makes a lot of
for.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
That really does. It's like, okay, yeah. I came away with this watching this movie with more questions than answers, of course, and so this is like really interesting. So, yeah, people think, oh, we're so much more smart and advanced nowadays. It's like, no, we're not.
It takes a fucking lot of guts to stand there and walk towards the enemy and stab them with
like
a
still,
pike.
it's like,
it takes a
well,
lot.
it does, but like
it's Sean's the front row pike man.
Just that basic concept of like, we're gonna use our weapons as a fucking shield. Like that. I mean, that to me, that's very intelligent. It's like really cool.
It's not a bunch of idiots standing in a square with pointy things. It's
not. There's a lot more thought into this than just a bunch of brute savages.
and the crazy, the crazy thing is like there's this knowledge of tactics and how to move someone's flank and all this, like that takes experience. That takes a lot of experience. Or at least a lot of knowledge.
Which is
maybe not experience, but at least knowledge to understand.
And that's why Alexander is such a captivating figure, because he does all this before he's 31. It's really, he wins a couple battles in Greece, but his father built this army and gave it. It really is Philip's army. That's Parmenion, as they say, is the last link to Philip's reign. His father, he was one of his most trusted generals. He led the first army that went over into the Persian Empire, but it really is Alexander in a way is untested, and that's what's so insane is that he does all this before he dies at 31, 33?
33.
Yeah, yep. He does this so young. He's in his first battle and wins his first battle when he's 18. It's just, ultimately they'll walk like I think it's 20,000 miles the army will march, and he's just, nobody's ever been able to beat that.
How far into India did he eventually get, and what was the last battle he fought before turning west?
That was the battle that they show, the Battle of the Hydaspes River. And that's against Porus, which I don't know if you want to work into that later, if we want to kind of go narratively with the story.
Right
but
we can work our way from northern Iraq there too, whatever.
I'll tell it briefly. Basically,
road trip.
After the Battle of Gaugamela, they march into Babylon. There's no resistance in Babylon. That's not the Persian capital. That's just the real Persian capital is conveniently edited out, and they forget about it.
What was
Persepolis is the battle. If you played Civ 5,
the capital. The capital.
It's Persepolis.
Where is it?
And where is that now?
Which it doesn't exist now. because Alexander will burn it to the ground.
Yeah, okay, but
But it's in Iran.
It's in Iran.
So
okay.
it's in Iran on the other side of the Zagros Mountains, which is really the
okay.
heartland, the Fars province. Or
Do they know where it was?
Pars province.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Are any of these
He's
things
saying
lost?
it right now.
No, I know, but
No,
a lot of
no,
times
they
it's
know-
like for that
No, they know where Persepolis
for
is.
that
yeah.
battle in northern Iraq. Have they found like remnants? Like, do they know where
Yes.
it took place? Okay.
They know where the Battle of Gaugamela is. I don't know how many relics they found there. The battle we'll talk about later, Hydaspes, they don't know where that is.
Well, because like generally they kind of know, but they don't. They haven't found enough to delineate.
you can
exactly.
look up photos of the field of Gaugamela.
Interesting.
They do exist. Basically, after that, they go to Babylon, occupy Babylon, which was just one of the many capitals that the Persians used, but Persepolis is the main Persian capital. They then march north to Susa. They take Susa without without having to surrender Susa, which
Where
is
is
the
that
other.
nowadays? Yeah.
That is also in Iraq. That's by the not Iran. That's by the Zagros Mountains. That is one of the oldest occupied cities ever. I believe it still is. I believe it still has people that live in it in Susa. And Ecbatana as well as one of the other ones. But anyway, they then march to Persepolis. They take Persepolis. Persepolis is abandoned by Darius, who is constantly retreating away from Alexander, trying to raise new troops. We'll get into his story in just a moment. But as they take Persepolis with no issue, no siege, supposedly they get drunk. A mistress of Alexander leads him in burning down the capital. That's debatable whether or not he did that, whether or not the mistress suddenly wanted to burn it down, but they end up burning down Persepolis. Now, what he can now say is that this is the political genius of Alexander, is that he's now avenged Athens that was burned in Xerxes' invasions. He's finally done it. He's avenged Persia. He's avenged Athens. He's defeated the Persian enemy, and he's gained retribution for Athens. And now he can frame this as he was just, now he's not attacking the Persian people and the people of the Persian Empire. He's attacking the Achaemenid dynasty. But to do that, he now has to catch Darius, which is where, as they go, Darius retreats north into modern-day Afghanistan. Alexander follows him with increasingly smaller detachments of his armies. He tries to catch up to him. At some point, Darius was taken captive by Bessus, who commanded the left. Sorry, Brian.
Don't they make like little Alexandrias as well along the way?
Yes, he found
and that's
a
when they
ton
lose
of
a lot of men.
Alexandrias. Yeah, well, basically they would found Alexandrias, and they would either resettle populations or send prisoners there, veterans there who were wounded. They would be forced to settle it. They found a lot of them. I think it's like 18 or something. There's a lot. There's also one named after his horse in in India later, which is funny. The one he founds in one that he founds in Afghanistan is actually they believe is modern day Kandahar. Which, if you think
I've heard that, yeah.
Alexander, Kandahar,
yeah.
there's kind of a similarity there. So I think that's where Kandahar comes from. Is Alexander's city. Darius is murdered by Bessus, who is kind of written out of this movie. When they go up and they talk about how he was fighting tribes in Afghanistan and whatnot, that's him trying to catch Bessus. And before his last enemy was finally defeated, and they just show like a random head on a pike. That's Bessus. I think he was just defeated by some cavalry. I don't remember how he was killed, but Bessus is dealt with, out of the way. Now basically all of Bactria, Sogdiana, modern day Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, they go all the way up to.
Wow.
Yep, all the way up to Turkmenistan, fighting tribes, nomadic archer tribes around there. He defeats them, and now you're just dealing with a bunch of pop-up warlords that hold citadels that are on top of the hills in Afghanistan. And a lot of people say, why does he have to go into Afghanistan? Why does he do this? Well, he has to, because he can't leave Bessus up there. Now Alexander can claim to be kin of the Persian Empire. He never takes on kin of kins, but he can claim to be kin of Asia. He's crowned kin of Asia in Babylon, kin of the world. He's called crown and kin of Babylon. You can't leave Bessus in Afghanistan, a place that breeds hardy fighters, as we've learned.
Yeah.
You can't leave him up there claiming as another claimant to the Persian throne and have him just sit there. You have to go after him, take him. And now that Bessus has killed Darius, all of a sudden Alexander conveniently can call himself the Avenger of Darius and the Achaemenid dynasty that was wronged by this treacherous general Bessus. How convenient that he died before Alexander got there. So whether or not he actually was killed or Alexander had him killed, that's a bit of a question mark. But now he can frame himself as the Avenger of Darius.
Yeah.
Lord, this is a marathon. I need another beer.
You want to take a piss break? I mean,
Did the
good,
Macedonians drink beer?
they drink a lot of wine.
Yeah, beer is. I don't know. Beer would have been a less civilized drink than wine.
It's a
Like
more
the
Middle
Romans.
Eastern. It's a more Middle Eastern drink.
Yeah, the
originally. Yep.
the Sumerians.
I've gone Asiatic. I'm drinking beer.
I think you still find recipes. They have found cuneiform recipes of them. Okay, so
Where are we,
now that-
Daddy?
Bactria and Sogdiana are in revolt. Modern day Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and most of the stands up there.
Piss.
Yes. They are in revolt. So this is where Roxana comes in.
Assassination number 587 commence.
He's dead.
Fucking A. He's God. This is where in the movie they go like, he made this weird decision to marry a girl of no importance. That's bullshit.
I was waiting for that. Yeah.
Roxana is the son. Not the son. Jesus Christ! I can't fucking make my mind work. He's briefly talked. He briefly shows up in there. Roxy's is his name or something like that. But he is a local warlord that is in control of a very powerful fortress. And by marrying Roxana, Alexander shows that it's not just a grab and raid. He's here to stay. They're part of the empire, and he is willing to treat the nobles with respect by marrying this guy's daughter, by Roxana. So supposedly they marry in a ceremony that has them eat 2 pieces of the same loaf of bread, which is supposedly a Macedonian ceremony. I believe that's briefly shown in the movie where there's like a giant ass loaf of bread in between them. And then, then Roxana disappears from the sources. So we have no idea what happened. If she goes on a campaign after, where she is, she might have just went back to Babylon. We don't know. She disappears from the sources. But
Did she have? That's the one that had the great set of tits.
That's
Yes,
her.
that's the
her.
one. That's the one.
That was
the
portrayed
same
in the
one.
Did she
Yes.
have? From what the sources say, did she have that great of a set of tits?
Apparently, she was a very beautiful woman. They say that
Confirmed.
Alexander picked her out among a group of dancers who were very good at stripteases. He caught eye of her first.
Yeah, well, they cast that. They cast that
Yeah.
well. Oliver.
Yeah, they cast her well.
Yeah.
But it's not just like some random woman.
Well,
from-
sorry,
of no
I
importance.
have to give credit where credit's due.
Please,
And just
please.
because it has already been derailed, Sean, your flub about a son is not so far off in this movie. So I'm just gonna say that.
Well,
right
that's
now.
also conjectural too. By the
Yeah.
way. Nobody actually knows if any of that's true because he has
Yeah.
several mistresses that are just written out of this film too.
But how many gay lovers did he have?
Well,
Oh, okay. Okay. We actually
dive into
didn't
that.
talk about that.
That's what
Let's
I
take
meant.
a pause.
When you
Let's
said
take a time.
when you said he had a son or he picked a son, I was like, well, it's not too far off.
So
You know.
yeah, he from what? Okay, Sean, I'm gonna say what I understand
Yes,
from my little
Aristotle.
bit of research. All right, listen here, penis. Nobody fucking asked you. So
What did he teach you when you were 12?
no, so
don't you love men?
Both sides of the coin are very fruitful.
Snakes or snails? Sorry.
Alexander, he liked young boys.
Well, we don't know that. We think Philip did, but we're not sure.
Oh, okay. So I want to get into that because from what I understand from my little bit of research and the lore and everything that's, convoluted through the years, it seems like Alexander liked young boys, but you're saying his dad did.
It's possible. I mean, it's certainly possible in the culture of Greece at that time. It was seen as acceptable to take a young lover. Eventually, as that boy got older, it was not acceptable to be gay anymore, basically. But we don't know if Alexander ever took a male lover. We really, at the end of the day, we don't know.
Boy, did they sure do incentivize it.
They sure do incentivize it, but this is, who is Alexander to what culture at a different time, or what kind of narrative is
Yeah,
trying to push?
so,
Because suddenly one day he's, to the Romans he was this possible tyrant that went too far and his empire collapsed. This is the perils of empire without end, as we have. With you go into the British Empire, and this is the view that, if you've seen Watchmen, that Alexander was conquering these people for their own good, to free them, and he was going to make a fraternal brotherhood of man. Like, I wonder why the British would be interested in pushing that narrative. It's for their own good.
The Japanese co-prosperity sphere.
Yes, the Persian co-prosperity sphere. Or now he's a bisexual hero, really, that was a leader of men and one of the greatest generals, but he was also bisexual, just so you know. He was probably gay.
I'm actually legitimately curious about this, because, again, I've learned to not trust a fucking thing I read or hear. I just want different perspectives. And so
Hephaestion, it's pretty... I don't think he actually sleeps with him in this movie. Hephaestion's always been kind of, he was his lover. He was conquered by his thighs, which is a reference to wrestling, which is not a wrestling to the homosexual.
Absolutely.
There's no specific source that says Alexander was gay and he slept with Bagoas or he slept with Hephaestion. Just like in the Iliad, Achilles and Patroclus, I think in the movie, the Troy movie, they're like cousins or something. In myth, they're just friends. They're good. They're very close friends, closer than brothers friends. It never says they are gay together. Like, it's never specifically said. People just read into it and go, well, they must be. This was all around at the time, so they must be gay. That's what they're reading about. Like,
Brokeback Mountain told me you could be more than friends, Sean.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay,
I wish I could quit you.
Brokeback Anatolius.
I knew how to quit you.
And Alexander and fuck, I go to fucking guy. and his friend Hephaestion, they constantly describe themselves as Achilles and Patroclus. So if you read into the fact that Achilles and Patroclus were gay lovers in the Iliad, of course you're going to read that these guys who call themselves Achilles and Patroclus, they must be gay lovers too. Okay. So that's where it comes from. But there's really no source that says he was gay and he did this. It's just sort of assumed.
The man just likes a good set of male thighs.
Yeah, and he had several.
Okay.
He's had several mistresses. It's just, the fact that he didn't marry till he was 29, till Roxana, that doesn't mean he was taking gay lovers and that he couldn't have a child. None of that. That's just conjectural. You're just guessing at it. You're grasping at straws.
That's the myth that's been perpetuated for fucking ever.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the sources that are so far. There's so many myths attached to Alexander that it's very hard to see the truth through the clouds. It's just
right.
They get perpetuated and they go on and on and on.
And it was like you said, it was okay.
Yeah,
up to a certain age, and it's like,
it's not. This guy's king of the world. It's not beyond the pale that he could have done this, and that's what eunuchs could be used for in the Persian court. Like Bagoas could have been, but he could have also just been an administrator to Alexander who'll hunt around the court. It's just as Alexander adopts more and more Persian customs, and the Macedonians get more and more angry at these Persian customs and the Persian way that Alexander's going, who they see as barbarians, and there are lessers. The presence of Bagoas becomes a more and more bigger agitation point, and he becomes a more and more. Yeah, he just gets more and more prominent in the sources.
A lot of the ex post facto shit from like Roman emperors, right?
Yes.
Like, he was a fucking he did this, he did that, but it was like actually when you like research this, he actually wasn't that bad of a guy. It was just the people that wrote about him afterwards that didn't like him.
Suetonius is the 12 Caesars notorious for that, per se.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Tiberius had like little boys swim in a pool and nibble at his genitals. That's like,
and there you go. And
he's like a gossip columnist.
So it's like, it is exactly a gossip column, and it's like sifting. It's like sifting through that.
Holy shit! I want that phrase to be said loud, please. God.
One more time.
Supposedly, I really got to read it again. There's even more like raunchy fucking stuff in there. He says he's doing to little boys, but apparently he would swim in his villa on an island off the coast of Italy and have little boys and nibble at his genitals like minnows as he swam.
As these guys in the Senate are projecting this on him after he dies.
There's a lot of cultural stuff going on there that I won't get into because it's not relevant to the story.
But no, it is relevant to this because it's like, that's why I said from my understanding and what I've researched and what I know, the little that I know, and that's why I wanted you to clear it up. It's like, well,
But essentially, there's nothing that specifically says that he had gay relationships. It's all implied. Nathan's just too shook by that.
I was just gonna say.
Just fuck with it.
It's like those fish. It's like those fish you eat calluses off your feet. Like on this list.
That may have been what he was going for. We don't know.
Oh my God! You're probably right. It's something like that. Like it's something benign, and then it's little kids to do this, because he's a fucking whatever.
He's a diddle monster.
Yeah, and it's that's just what I was asking.
He wears 2 watches because it's always time to diddle.
Come for the movie review and stay for whatever this turned into.
This is still a movie review.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sorry,
right,
Sean.
yeah,
I didn't expect to hear about Roman emperors getting their balls nibbled on by little boys tonight.
Well, Brian,
Well,
maybe
but
you
that
should
is
be
the
more
kind of
open to
shit-
ideas.
Well, I guess that's a hump day subject, okay? I get it.
That is the kind of shit that people will make up about somebody if they don't like them.
It's a Wednesday, Brian. Yeah.
You know what Wednesday is. The point is, ultimately, we don't know if it's true or not because we're not.
Yeah.
Again, it's a locked door. It's a locked room. We can't get
Correct.
it. We have no way of actually knowing if this is true. It's not
A bunch of
specifically
boys
said.
went in there, and I can't open it now. Get him out of there!
Whoops!
Oh God, no!
It's like Inception. No.
Oh, Interstellar. You're thinking of?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Interstellar. Sorry, wrong one. Yeah. Sorry, Sean. We derailed you so bad. Sorry. That I was not ready for.
I'm sorry. I just had to ask, because it's such a commonly believed thing, and I'm like, I just want to clear it up. We cleared it up. We're good to go.
Sean
it's a
says
commonly
something,
believed
and then
thing,
Mike
but-
B's excavator turns over. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, it's a common thing, but it's so people bring so much to people think so much about it because our culture is sex obsessed today. And now, of course, we're looking for
100%.
figures in history that were possibly gay, and
Sex in the swastika.
you're trying to read modern day perspectives and things into ancient sources that it's just not there, and you have no way of knowing.
Well, but there's been people who have written actual books about Alexander who put that in there. And what I mean,
ultimately, you can't even say it. It's just maybe this happened. We don't know.
There you
no
go.
way of knowing
There
if
you
it
go.
actually happened.
There you fucking go.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, you were first.
And just a quick thing, you said something interesting, Sean. This is the modern interpretation, or this is the 2004 modern interpretation of the Alexander story. The most recent thing I could think of that of a society today adapting a story from the past was that film that came out not too long ago about that South African queen or something.
Oh, the womankin or something.
Yeah,
like
woman.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Oh my god,
adapted
that
that.
adapted. That is so bad. You look at the battle. It's oh god, I won't get into that.
Are you talking about you're not?
Yeah, they
sorry.
championed it as some women's rights thing. It's the men population was just had declared war on their neighbors so much they were just all dead, and then the French Foreign Legion came and mopped them up, and it was one casualty to hundreds of them. In the movie, it's they're it's so bad. It's just so bad.
There's also that movie recently, the Boudica movie that came out.
Oh, there's a Boudica movie?
Yeah, just came out. It's from the woman who did Centurion, the tongueless woman. That's who's apparently doing Boudica.
If I'm right,
no.
I think we know this.
Sean,
Oh dear.
If I'm right, and Sean knows more than me, though he's not an expert, I think we know about as much about Alexander as we do about Boudica. We know that this thing happened and then it was stopped, but we don't know really.
Yeah. Well, that's we have the Roman sources. We don't have the Iceni sources. We have Alexander sources. We don't really have Persian sources because they didn't really keep sources like that. So you're dealing. That's. Yeah.
And the reason why I brought it up is I feel like it faces the same, relevancy of pop culture and its influence on that, and Hollywood or whatever, whoever's interpretation of what they want to shoehorn into something to propagate whatever they want to do. That's fine. That's people's rights. But what bothers me sometimes is the push of certain tones and aspects into ancient history that not necessarily are true, and that kind of get pulled in and adopted by people's ideologies and stuff like that. That's fine.
Current
But then
ideologies,
people-
and it's not just it's not just ancient history; it's every history.
I mean every history.
Yeah, it
but
sucks.
I mean, like,
Yep.
it. But like that's the problem. And then people go, well, did you know Hitler was gay? It's like,
No,
Doubt.
Well, I'm saying Hitler was pretty fucking gay. I mean, what he did was not cool. That's pretty gay.
The early aughts
That's
form
really-
of that word.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Very
2000.
I mean,
version.
my point, I'm being ridiculous for a reason. It's like I get tired of people going, well, like Sean said, like Alexander's gay. So what if he is? So like that's
Who
fine.
cares?
But, like,
it doesn't make a
but, like,
difference.
But like why?
Correct.
But then it's like this huge focus of whatever fucking thing. It's like I guess people can say that about why you focus on the war stuff so much. I get this argument, but the point is, it's like I don't know. I look at something and I go, if that's not concrete enough to be in a movie about a historical person, particularly a huge person of human history, it's like then people start going around going, well, did you know that Alexander the Great fell in love with a eunuch? Like I get it, but at the same time,
it's a visceral reaction of like being like, well, you don't know that. Nobody knows.
right.
that.
Yeah, you don't know that. And what does
yeah.
it matter if he did? What
Right,
he did
right.
still
There you
happened.
go.
What does it
Yeah,
matter?
exactly.
Does
Thank you.
it?
Yeah.
Oh well, he was in love with the eunuch, so we should discredit him and forget everything he did. Like what does it matter?
Or
What the
we
fuck
should
does it
worship
matter
him.
if
We
he
should put
does?
him on a pedestal and like because
Yeah.
of this one trait he had. Or
What a
didn't
hero,
have,
actually.
you know?
Brave and stunning.
If he used they them pronouns, I would be much more inclined to name my son Alexander.
Yeah.
Pride.
Well, that's what I said. Like during the British Empire, the narrative was that he did all this for the good of humanity, and it was to liberate people and build a brotherhood of man. Like the Communist Manifesto wasn't written until 1848. I don't know what the fuck you think he was thinking he was doing, but it was not that.
Hey, Sean, I'll have you know, I went to Iraq in 2009 to liberate those people.
Yeah.
And I did a great job.
Yeah.
job.
Did you park your fucking tank on Babylon too?
Yeah, no, I didn't drive a tank. I was a
Grind it up.
fucking.
And again, it's not whether he was gay or not. That's not the argument I have. The argument I have is just how do you know?
Right.
And then putting that on a pedestal of how you know. It's you don't. So
Where's Captain Miller's grave?
Yeah.
I want the 45 he used to take out that tiger. Okay.
People's
I want the round.
It's given him by Sergeant
people's
York.
assumptions
Yeah.
and the way that things go, it's just people make.
Well, the thing is, like, we've seen this in our lifetime, right? Like, I was talking to Brian the other day, and I'm like, I got back 14 years ago, right? I can't tell you. There's a lot of things that I've been rediscovering that happened, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't remember that at all. 14 years.
I don't
That's
know.
it's a fucking. That's a tiny fragment of time. You talk about 1,400 years, 2,000 years.
Yeah, two millennia.
The shit's gonna
it's-
get really diced up, and probably is not going to be as accurate as what actually happened.
And I bet you that those fucking Macedonian soldiers didn't know where their plate carriers are made, just like you didn't know where your plate carriers made.
Unless they actually got them made, they knew the person that made them.
Probably a little more locally made.
Yeah.
Probably watched to be made in front of them.
A little bit less industrialized.
What illiterate
yeah.
man made your shield?
Yeah. Theocles, he's the guy with the limp in the blacksmith
He's the guy with the
shop.
huge
Right.
cock.
Yeah.
He's got a fucking hog on him, I'll tell you
Holy
what.
shit,
But no,
That's why he's
my
crippled,
point
'cause
is
he's
like
dragging it everywhere.
my point is like 14 years is nothing, and we're talking about something that's over 2,000 years old. If it even was,
If
don't
we
even
can't
fucking
ascertain
know.
what happened in our own lifetime with certainty,
There you go.
like Brian Williams says he was fired at by an RPG in a Chinook.
That's
How
sniper.
can
Sniper
we
fire.
know?
Sniper
No.
fire.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah, come on.
Hillary
Clinton was shot at with an RPG.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can we know what Alexander's sexual preference was when there's like nothing specifically written by him?
Well, and again, like you said, does it matter? But I was just, I wanted to bring that up because it's such a fucking like prolific and like regurgitated myth, and it's just people. Oh yeah, he liked kids. He I'm not gonna say it, Nate, but he liked young boys, and it's like, well, did he? And
Yeah,
if it's
Phrase
like
it differently.
if we
Don't
have
know.
no, but like if we don't have any evidence of that,
It's
A,
like
it doesn't. Yeah.
It's like saying Himmler fucked goats. It's like, well, how do we know?
Okay. What evidence do you have?
Who says that?
Nobody. Well,
yeah. Okay.
What myth
We're
will live
making
on?
this right here.
That's the whole point. But like, yeah. So okay about that, and then so
So we're in
Alexander was
Afghanistan, right? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So he was 18 when he started his military kind of role, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's in Greece.
18 in
He's
Greece.
29, I think, when he marries Roxana. Right?
Oh,
Yes.
so they fucked that timeline up really bad in this movie.
Oh, it's so mashed and
that's what I mean.
fucked
Like,
up.
I couldn't keep track of it just looking at it from a film perspective. It's like you're talking about one of the most famous people in the world, and you can't like get anything straight. Anything.
Yeah.
What's funny too is that Oliver Stone took the total fucking George Lucas approach to this film, and he made 3 different versions after it came out, and they're all different. In the last version I saw, he was like, "This one's great because it's all chronological." So literally, like, fucking each movie is
None of it is.
No. Apparently,
Actually, none of it is.
apparently the last one that came out like 4 years ago, they actually remember these guys tinker. They put it in chronological order, so you watch his life from beginning to end.
Yeah, like Sean's saying, like they got nothing right. Like whoever the fuck, because I know I don't blame Oliver Stone personally because it's like, yeah, he's the director or whatever. I get that. It's one job. There's so many people involved in this, in the research, the writing, the producing, the fucking costume design, which if Sean says it's pretty accurate, hey, good on you. Fucking A. The tacticians, they'll die if you're the one that did that. Good on you. You're a boomer.
Bottle cap versus bottle cap.
He's the ultimate. He's the ultimate like fucking military boomer. And Anyway,
Mike, he might be listening. Don't insult him too much.
I don't give a flying fuck.
I don't know how they put it in chronological order because, like I said, he's mashed the 2 battles together. The Battle of Isis, the Battle of Gaugamela, and the conspiracies against Alexander are also mashed together. Where like the page hands him the cup and he backs away. I can't be a part of this. And then they implicate Parmenian's son Philotas. That's 2 different conspiracies. That's 2 different things they're talking about. Philotas, the one that got Philotas, was a conspiracy through a page. It's so fucking convoluted. I'm straining to fucking remember the exact details. Basically, Philotas knew of a conspiracy against Alexander, and he didn't tell him. Alexander found out about it, knew that Philotas knew, and waited for Philotas to tell him about it. Philotas didn't. Thus, he moved against him, and all the others at court kind of banded against him to get him out of the way. The Pages was another conspiracy that happened in Afghanistan. This was, again, 2 lovers were the Pages, who were the basically young boys that served the kin for secretarial purposes, to learn the ropes of diplomacy, stuff like that.
Well, hello there.
Oh, hello there. These 2 gay lovers didn't like Alexander, how he was becoming more Persian, how he was running the court. They conspired to kill him. Alexander stayed away from his tent one night when all the conspirators were on guard. He came back after they were relieved, thanked them for their service, yada yada. They chickened out. One of them eventually told them the conspiracy. They were all killed. So he's mashed 2 of them together into one big conspiracy. So I don't know how you can tell it in chronological order because you're already fucking it all up. Like
No, I agree. Like it's
It seemed like which I also thought was funny that guy, the father, the Felonius, is that what his name was?
Parmenion is the father.
Parmenion.
Yes.
He's one of the Scottish lords in Braveheart.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's one of the major guys who organizes to get Mel Gibson ambushed in the castle, and they like.
If you're a Scottish lord, then I am Mickey Mouse.
Where are the tapestries? I think we left
How
off.
dare he?
I think we left off in Afghanistan. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's keep this on the rails a little bit. Yeah.
We have taken the time machine back to see if he's fucking any boys. We haven't found any yet. So
We have found no evidence. All right, so as they push through the Hindu Kush, through the Khyber Pass out of Afghanistan, now a lot of people question why he went to India, but apparently, according to Darius the First, way back yonder, Darius the First is who launches the initial expedition against Greece with the Battle of Marathon for 80, probably earlier. That's that Darius. He also conquers the Indus Valley, what would now be like modern day Pakistan, the Kashmir Valley, just into the north around the river Hydaspes of the Indus River. Um, Alexander, so that is apparently part of the Persian Empire. So if Alexander wants to claim to be ruler of the Achaemenids, this is also a part that he needs to take. How strong Persian rule was in this area, we don't exactly know. It's not very clear. It's probably not great. It was probably just a bunch of allied kingdoms that gave tribute to the Persians. That's probably the extent of where we're looking at. As he pushes south, it's just it's a lot of sieges, taking fortresses, taken submission of kins, because of course everybody hears of Alexander. Every local kin around in that area comes to Alexander trying to seek his side in local grievances to get him on their side. Eventually he pushes south, taking many fortresses. He's wounded a couple of times in one of the skirmishes out to take one of these forts. He's shot in the chest by an arrow, and Hephaestion is also wounded. Hence what happens to him in the battle of Hydaspes in this movie didn't actually happen there. So again, how is it in chronological order, Oliver Stone? Porus, who has a kingdom just around the river Hydaspes, I think it's modern Indus. It's just in northern India. He meets Alexander with a big army. It's currently around. It contains 75 elephants is the low estimate, 150 is the highest one, 20,000 infantry, somewhere around that. Alexander is apparently commanding around 40,000, maybe 50,000. A lot of the army at this point, maybe a sixth of it, is Macedonians. The cavalry are split into smaller squadrons, so they're more mobile. That was to deal with the revolts in Sogdiana and Bactria. But a lot of the Macedonian veterans have been retired, sent home, or just replaced by Persians as they've died. For all these campaigns, we have no idea how many died of disease or anything like that. We don't know. So about a sixth of them, though, are Macedonians, and that's really the cream of the army. That is the striking force that will lead the sieges, take the center in the battle. That's still the classical phalanx, and a lot of the Persian troops, others like that, have been recruited and taught Macedonian ways, the Macedonian way of war, so they are also basically a phalanx. This battle, basically, they get to the river Hydaspes, and they know of elephants. Alexander's obviously, they've seen them at Gaugamela. Obviously, some have been sent to Alexander as tribute. It's not a foreign thing, but it's something they really haven't faced in battle on this scale of maybe 75 to 150. And 75 is the lowest estimate we've ever given. So it's a lot of fucking elephants. The problem is that Porus, who's the king, who apparently is 7 feet tall, they describe him as, but that's just kind of contrasting between Alexander and himself, they think, meets him on a riverbed, and they can't just immediately assault across the riverbed because horses are spooked with elephants. If they've never seen them before, there's no training with elephants. They don't like the smell, they don't like the noise, the look of elephants. They will shy away and elephants scare the shit out of them, as they rightfully should. So Alexander needs to sort of figure out a way around. So what he does is they set up camp across the river from Porus. They make a big show of making a lot of noise at night, act like they're going to march. So the Porus will gather his forces to battle order. This tires them out, yada yada. Eventually, by the way, this is all in the fucking monsoon season, so it's raining the entire time. Alexander marches away during the night, around about 20 miles away from Porus's camp, to figure out to cross the river. Eventually, he crosses with a force of about 6,000 infantry and cavalry. Porus, one of a force of cavalry from Porus's army, meets Alexander, clashes with them, is driven off. That alerts Porus that Alexander has crossed the river. They're being attacked from the side. Now, Cleitus, who was in charge of the Macedonian phalanx that was in the camp, was given orders not to attack unless he saw the Indians were driven off, to give pursuits. How well he followed that orders, because it's given that what happens, he was also trying to cross the river. up for debate. But Porus marches down to meet Alexander. He essentially smacks into him. The Macedonian infantry really hit by the elephants, but the Indian cavalry is just totally driven off by the Macedonian cavalry in a bunch of different charges. It's pretty brutal. It's a pretty apparently bloody struggle for the Indians, as we'll get into the casualty figures. But as the cavalry holds and just tries to fend off the elephants, they do a lot of damage as far as we know, but they're driven off. They're stabbed in the eyes with javelins or sarissas. I mean, the sarissa is a 16-foot pike. It's pretty fucking long. You're able to deal with the elephants. They kill the drivers. The elephants panic and drive off. Ultimately, the statistics Ari gives is 86 infantry were killed and 230 cavalry were killed. So we don't know how many wounded, but that doesn't sound like a huge bloodbath. Apparently, thousands of Indian troops were killed. As eventually the elephants fled, the Macedonian infantry advanced, and they broke Porus' army, and he fled. Eventually, it's not known whether he was killed. Some sources say he was killed. Some sources say he survived and later gave tribute to Alexander, was just made king of the region, his territory expanded, and made an ally. This battle, that's really all I have to say because it's so chaotic. It is all this happened during the fucking rain again. It's so chaotic and so many of the sources differ on what happens that's the best we can really do to put together what happened. Anyway, it was a marching engagement. The two armies kind of met themselves suddenly on the march on ground they never saw before. The Macedonians drove off the Indians and won the day. But ultimately, as we get into the mutiny, this is kind of the extent. This is Alexander's last great battle. And that's really it. I mean, after that, you now have the mutiny at Apis, which is kind of shown in the movie.
Yeah.
As good as the depiction is, we know, basically, they really did think India kind of ended soon. They would get to this outer sea, build boats, and go around to the River Nile or back to Babylon. Their knowledge of geography in the world is a little hazy at this point. The mutiny, you could see if it ever really happened. We have
sorry. Had they added to their understanding of geography as they had marched? Like,
yeah, obviously, as he physically goes to these places, it adds on. And when they get into India, they think India must be at an end. But as they talk to the Indian kingdoms that are trying to gain their favor, they go, no, there's a lot more India, and there's a lot more civilizations and cultures and kingdoms behind us. And so that starts to dawn on them that this is not the end. This is not going to be as easy as you think. And now, the critical part is now you're at the extent of Persian control over India. So now you're at the point you could say the Persian Empire has ended and we've conquered the entire Persian Empire. So it's very convenient that the mutiny at Apis suddenly happens. And now you could frame it as, well, Alexander wanted to go on. He could have conquered everything, but the men failed him. They just couldn't go on anymore. They wanted to see their wives because they wanted to go live peaceful lives. But Alexander had the glory, and he knew what he wanted, and he could go on and conquer the world. Very convenient that it happens at the same time as the extent of, India is a lot larger than we thought. Oh, shit. And, we're at the end of Persian control. Suddenly there's a mutiny. We got to go back. How convenient. So that's why the mutiny, that speech, we don't know. The Arian gives a version of the speech that basically says, my father led this army from sheepskins to rich cloaks to silk and yada yada. We brought you this far, but I guess we'll go back. And they exalt Alexander after they see he won't let any of them in the tent to see him, and he's so mad. And they beg for his forgiveness, and he concedes and marches the army back to Babylon. How convenient it just happens after they discover all these things.
Yeah, of course. And they're like, fuck Mongolia and China and everything else.
Yeah, India's huge.
So,
it's fucking massive,
So in a way, they were looking for the sea. They were like, okay, we'll hit the sea at some point, and then it was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, we'll conquer India, which must just be the small kingdoms up to this river, and we'll hit the outer sea. Oh, it's not. A mutiny's happened.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, wasn't like when he was his teacher Aristotle was like, if you climb the hills, you can see Macedonia, and you could also see the other side of the sea. Like, wasn't that the idea, the concept?
Yeah, that was their concept of geography, as much as they had known from Persian accounts and stuff. And, again, this is the era before airplanes and satellites. How you really gonna ever know?
How you gonna know?
Well, they had drones, though, right? I mean,
they had drones.
Battle
you
drones.
See how well they captured the Battle of Gaugamela? It was great.
No, it's like, yeah, all that makes total sense for like the time period that they're in. It's like, you know, yeah, I mean, the Hindu Kush Mountains are very unforgivable.
Yes.
And it's like,
Haven't you seen Shershaw? You know,
It's never given how many people died of exposure or disease or deserted during this. That's not given by the sources, so we have no idea what the
so
fluctuation
how
numbers
big
of the army
was so how big was the army at its biggest that you know of?
So it said 120,000. That's probably a little too much. 50,000, maybe. 40,000. We know Gaugamela was probably about 40,000. But
It's
I
so
would
weird
say
to think about it in like
120,000
modern,
at its most.
even at 120. Okay, we'll go highest 120 possible. That's still nothing nowadays.
Yeah. And at this point, they're 20,000 miles from home. You
Yeah.
want to think about that. That's
Well, they're not
it's
20,000 miles from home. They've marched 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
That geographically, that's about from Greece to Afghanistan is probably about 6,000 miles. I mean, it's still. Don't get me wrong. It's a fucking long distance.
Yeah. And then they go down to India, then across through the
Yep.
Gordian Desert back to Babylon. Like it's
Yeah.
an
And
insane distance.
It's an insane distance just to march, like an army.
Yeah.
Especially at that point, it's like logistically, it's insane that they were able to do that. You know,
Yeah.
like with food and supplies and you know just everything.
Yeah.
So-
It's sorry, Nate.
and now take a shortcut through the desert.
Yeah.
Yes, well, there's speculation. I mean, in that they say it was his greatest blunder, and 2/3 died, which is possible. But now they know that there was also a fleet that was going on the outside. They were able to build a river fleet to go down the river, built a fleet at the mouth, founded, I think, Bucephalus, or which is named after the horse, and another Alexandria. And then the fleet was going along the coast, so the whole point of the army was to march and be able to provision the fleet as they went around and tried to scout out spots for harbors.
Oh,
To be able,
okay.
yeah, so they were looking for harbors, places to find other cities, and this was seen as the quicker route to get to Babylon too. And now they can make cities here, ports, get into the spice trade with Arabia or India or something like that. So there was more of a reason than let's just go here to be the quickest way. There was an ulterior motive.
It's empire
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, it's empire building. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Why
That's
the
a good way
fuck
to
would
put
you
it.
run back? Oh no, we're here. Let's make it
Yeah.
make sense. You know.
Yep.
Now, and I know you're gonna go duh, but Alexandria is named from Alexander, right?
Yes, that I
Okay.
think that's really the only one that's lasted,
Still
as
there.
far as I know.
Stuck,
Like we said,
right.
Kandahar is probably in Alexandria. There was a bunch of them, like too many for me to name, but think of almost every major satrapy that he conquered, Persian province, almost every modern day country there would have been in Alexandria.
Mm. Okay. I have a quick question on mainly and if you don't know, you don't know, but I'm sure you do.
Well, maybe I don't.
I think it's because sleeper cell activated. I think it's the problem is that the like trying to understand how he died,
Mhm.
and like Jared's Leto character and all that other stuff. It's like I couldn't. Maybe it's because I was zoned out at this fucking point, but like, was he poisoned or was it like a fever
So,
or is it
Obviously, stories caught on that he was poisoned. And
Yeah.
here's the deal. He lasted for about 10 days, I think, once he got sick and he fell sick at a party and collapsed. Stories
Right,
say
which
he
they
didn't
show that with the
sacrifice to
lion hand, 'cause
Dionysus. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, he didn't sacrifice to Dionysus, the god, and that's why he struck him down. It's most likely that Hephaestion died of typhoid or malaria because Babylon
That's-
in that area,
that's what
right,
I was
with
thinking,
mosquitoes
yeah.
and malaria. There's no poison that they know of that existed in the ancient world that would kill somebody that slow. It was either boom, you're dead very quickly and painfully. Nothing would have made them last that long. And if you were going to poison Alexander, wouldn't there have been a faction ready to go to usurp and take power? There wasn't. So most likely he fell sick and died. It wasn't, and again, murder was not uncommon for an agreed Macedonian kin. However, neither was dying of illness at a young age in the ancient world. So it's
Right.
not out of the
Right,
ordinary.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that's not out of the
Yeah.
ordinary. So it's very impossible. And again, nobody had a plan for when he died. The empire splintered and disintegrated and just turned into murder and mayhem. So there's not good evidence that he was poisoned. He very likely just died of disease and didn't name his successor. Now, Roxana did have a son who was born 3 months after he died, but that's into the wars of the Diadochi, the successor kingdoms, and that's a whole other story.
He might have gotten, the shit pipe problem that I had that almost fucking killed me. That took about 10 days before it was like.
It could have. We don't.
Well, no, the thing
know.
is, like, humans are, and especially back then, it's like you don't fucking know. He could have gotten typhoid. He could have gotten anything.
typhoid.
Well, yeah,
Malaria.
all the ailments still exist. It's just,
and I mean, you're in a totally different climate than what your body is used to when you grew up in northern Macedonia. So it's not unheard of.
Cause one of the things they showed was like they said I got this, was it water from the Euphrates or something like that, and he tongued the water.
And
I
you
think
could have drank putrid water or just
that's
bad
I
water.
think that's what they were.
Yeah,
I think that's what they were insinuating, that he got sick, like because he drank the same water that
Oliver, what are
Jared
you
Leto's character.
alluding to here?
That might be what they're insinuating. That he tried to
yeah.
take him and didn't trust the doctors. Well, he did freak out at that doctor after Bastian died, and he built a monument to him, which I think still stands today.
He built a monument to the doctor or
to Hephaestion, not the doctor. No, the doctor I think he got executed, if I remember correctly. Hephaestion he had a monument built to, which I believe still stands to this day.
Can you imagine being a doctor and like you don't really know what's going on, and all of a sudden this guy dies, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I'm dying!" Like, you're fucked. I mean, what the hell?
You know what's funny? That's probably happened a lot.
It reminds me of thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh no!
Let's get a good, bad doctor.
But,
well, there is no IMFDB because there is no F.
Slash.
So yeah.
no, we're talking about the weapons. Oh, one thing. Okay, one thing I did want to ask you, Sean, is what the fuck kind of swords were they using?
At this point, it would have been more akin to what a gladius would look like. It would have
okay,
been a
that's what I was
double-edged
thinking. Not
stabbing
like
sword.
this fancy.
Yeah. Alexander probably would have had a more fancy sword because he's Alexander. He's the king. He would have been given multiple gifts.
Right. So at this
it
point,
would have been really nice,
are they using mostly bronze, or have they gotten into the Iron Age at this point?
Iron.
Okay, Iron.
Yeah, it's the Iron Age. Yeah.
But yeah, like a short, stout, fucking
Gladys.
Yeah.
Stabby thing.
The sarissa was the primary weapon.
Sarissa, okay.
Yeah, the sarissa, which is the pike. To
yeah,
say
okay.
information, but you had the sword if you're broke,
but
or
like
you got
this,
into more close contact or a siege or something like that.
Like the swords they were using were like, it looked like Hollywood completely. It was just like fancy, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but if you see the soldiers, they look like the shots at them. It looks like they have
the soldiers,
sword,
yes,
as far as we know. Yeah, but remember, Alexander is obviously going to be different. It's going to be more fancy.
Yeah, but it's still like it was like a different kind of blade. It was just weird, and I just wanted to ask you about that.
I mean, maybe we don't have Alexander's sword to be like, it was this one.
It looked like he had like some kind of amalgamation of like a kukri dagger. It looked like.
Yeah, well, those early Greek swords, if you look at them, they are one side sharp, like the early Bronze Age swords. They only have one side sharpened, and they are curved like that.
It was like a falchion. But it's more of a blunt force weapon from my understanding. But we'll wait till he gets back.
Well, like Sean had mentioned, most people die in an ancient battle when the line breaks and you're running away. And it's in your back. So,
as a smart man once said, stick the pointy end in the other man.
There you go.
Yeah. But so Sean, because they only had the one side, it was kind of more of a falchion kind of concept of like blunt force.
Yeah, well, it's more you would be more shield and you slash over or something like that.
Yeah, so blunt force, yeah.
Or you were able to stab, but yeah, it's more blunt force than the Roman doctrine would have been.
Or you could go the centurion route and smash a guy's head against a tree and watch it explode.
Works just as well, honestly. I mean, why even have weapons?
I remember that very vividly when we watched that movie. It's just like head hits the tree, watermelon.
CGI watermelon.
Yeah.
All right. I think you guys want to do closing thoughts, or do you guys?
Because we're hitting at 2:07.
I'd love to jump on IMSDB, but there isn't one yet. So
yeah.
You're on movie sword database.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. This is very much a product of its time. It's Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone really wanted to make an epic that he probably, watched as, he's growing up, and he didn't do a good job of it. I don't know. It's just not a good movie. All 178 of this all 178 minutes of this movie are not good. It's just they didn't have an editor. They didn't really have a direction. They just wanted to make a movie about this amazing historical individual, and just really grasp at straws. He tried to tie it together through love in a way, but again, we don't really have a lot of sources to go off of. So much was added that it doesn't really make a lot of sense. That being said, it is very interesting for what it is. I think it's worth a watch, and I would give this 7.8 because
Out of 20?
there's nothing.
I wish people could see all three of our faces.
There's nothing out there like this, and I think it's worth it just for the battle sequences. Those two. So, but that's my reasoning. It's shit otherwise, and it's just interesting to see, the movie that basically destroyed Oliver Stone's reputation. So, that being said, I'll pass it on to you, Sean.
Like I said, the battle scenes are really, really good. It's just a shame there's only 2. It mashes history together. It gets it wrong. It focuses on the wrong things, like Angelina Jolie and her contracted screen time, or whatever the fuck they made her be in this movie so much.
Hot as fuck still.
Well, can't. Everyone has to have something redeeming. And it's just like a wasted opportunity. Like, the costume designs are really good. It's just, but ultimately it just goes on, and the music sucks. If I hear, like, anytime it was Angelina Jolie, if that to keep going back to her, and it does her like little theme song, it sounds like the Skyrim, like, just peaceful music when you're walking around. It's so bad. Like, it's just so bad. Like, it's just,
Yes.
it hits all the wrong beats at the wrong time. Just focuses on the wrong things. I give it a 3 out of 10. Nate.
Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun.
what it sounds like.
I know. I know the music you're talking about
Yeah,
too.
that's why I was laughing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's hard, man, because, like, I want it. Again, my memory makes me forget something I've already watched, so it's like I was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't think I've seen this before. No, I've seen it. Oh, this is why I blocked it out. Okay, got it. Like, it just. I see, like I think what Sean and Brian said. It's like I see a missed opportunity. It just, there's essences of little things here and there, but the problem I see with it's trying to. It felt very much studio influence. Like, hit the check marks. What makes a grandiose so epic after '98? And go. I will say that there are a couple things I really liked about it. I loved the concept of an epic-like scale of that many people being in one shot. There's something we haven't really talked about, but there are some pretty interesting battle shots with that many people in the shot at one point. And that is pretty interesting and cool to see, because at this point they were really kind of looking at, early, like, CG stuff for massive scale stuff. So that was really interesting to see that. But then the other part of it is that I hate the cinematography in this film. I like it to an extent, but I really hate it because it's everything I hate about the aughts filmmaking. And that's probably because it's aged, but there were just some shots. It's like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, what is this about? And then the editing doesn't even exist. I've talked about it. It's a check mark editing. There's nothing spectacular for it, and I think the weird jump cuts is to hide flaws within the coverage of the film. I really think that's all it does, and direction from the performers. or sorry, direction from the directors to the performers. But all said and done, I don't think I'll be paying $3.99 for this film ever again. So like Sean said, the music sucks balls. It was terrible.
It's just bad.
It was just weird music, weird Here's the theme of Alexander the Great. Woo, we're trying to be Braveheart. It was just, that's all I felt. This is trying to be Braveheart in a different setting, and it just didn't work. I've said everything verbatim. It's just not a good film. So I see where I want to give it. I'm gonna give it a 4.9 out of 10 Scream Mel Gibsons.
4.9? Just give it a 5.
I'm doing the mic thing where I'm trying to make the scores different. After almost 100 episodes, we got to do this weird decimal thing. Otherwise, they start being the same scores.
Who's mouth farting? Like, who's doing that?
It was Brian.
Jesus Christ.
Because I understand Sean, and then I understand Nate being like, well, it's just funny. I get it.
Okay.
Sean, when you get to your 12th movie review, you'll be like, oh, decimal point man.
We'll give it a 5.1927 pi repeated.
Fucking do it. Brian will calculate it.
I'll try.
Just see a little smoke from his calculator coming up.
Good old TI.
I like how honest that was. I'll try.
I thought the whole thing was a shit show. It was just not. The direction sucked. The writing sucked. They again, I think Brian said, they took somebody who was a very important part of human history, and they just fucked the whole thing up. Like they fucked it up so bad. The acting sucked, and again, I don't blame actors for the most part. On because Colin Farrell is not a bad actor. In this one, I don't think he was feeling it. I think it was just one of those things that just didn't vibe with him. Not a good fit for him at all. Jared Leto, okay. It's like Angelina Jolie. Yeah, she's eye candy. That's about it. That's literally about it. The chick with the nice tits, same thing. Not bad, but it's eye candy. It's okay, whatever. We get it. Yeah. So the story it fell way short. The music did suck. It was fucking awful. It was so hard. It's really hard for me to just skip through a movie. You have to be. I skipped through Tunnel Rats. We'll just put it that way. I skipped through a lot of that. This one I skipped through as well.
How dare you?
Calm down, Greta.
But I skipped through it because I'm just like, okay. Another dancing scene, another gay thing. Okay, I get it. Whatever. Okay, what did he actually do? How did he accomplish this? Okay, got it. Oh, somebody's dying now. Okay, who's dying? Oh, they're dying. Why is this? It was just one of those things. It's just so it dragged the fuck on. I'm like, if you're gonna cover a story like this, either make it 6 hours and make it a mini series, or don't fucking do it. And it's it was done poorly. It was so. But okay. The one redeeming thing, and the only reason it's getting a score from me like this, is because of the battle scenes. I thought those were fucking cool. It showed, and now they got confirmation from Sean. It's yeah, that was interesting to see how the tactics were done, the gear they were using, how they would use their equipment on both sides, or every side rather. That was really cool. But that's 20 minutes out of 3.5 hours.
So long.
Yeah, at least.
So long.
Alexander conquered the fucking Persian Empire. How did he do that? Not through watching chicks dance that he's never gonna fuck. It's and having these parties. Okay, the drunkenness, I get that. Again, put it in chronological order and fucking make it more interesting. Okay?
There's so many sieges. The Gordian Knot we didn't even talk about. That's Alexander.
Yes.
That's not even in the movie though. So why did we talk about it?
I don't know what the fuck that is.
The
You ever
Gordian
heard
Knot?
the expression "cut the Gordian Knot"?
Nope.
I have no idea what that is.
So
Here,
No,
Mike,
okay, I'll give it a
score,
score.
and then I want to hear about the Gordian Knot.
Okay. My score is a solid 3-2. just for the battle scenes. That's it. The rest of the movie fucking sucked ass. It was awful.
All right, Gordian knot.
All right.
Yeah.
So the Gordian knot was this famous knot that was in the city of Gordium, which is in modern day Turkey. So this is right at the start of the campaigns. And you've definitely heard the expression to cut the Gordian knot, to basically to navigate through an impossible problem. You guys, you have.
So you said a knot. Like, is that like a thing?
A knot. Like it was literally a wagon tied to like a chair, to like a yoke for horses. It was knot tied. Supposedly, it was tied by King Midas himself to everything that touched turns to gold. It was tied. It was this impossible knot. Nobody could undo it. Nobody could even figure out how to start to undo this knot. But whoever could undo the knot would supposedly become king of all Asia. And it was in the city of Gordium, kept in because King Midas is a mythical figure. And so basically the generals brought Alexander. Oh, this is the Gordian knot. We're going to go look at the Gordian knot. Oh, whoever can untie it can figure out how to conquer. We'll conquer Asia. And so Alexander takes a sword and just cuts the knot in half. That's the Gordian knot. So that's expression, to cut the Gordian knot. It's just to take a super complicated problem and just do the simplest thing that nobody has thought of. Just cut through the fucking knot.
That would have been fucking
but we didn't
cool
include
to
that.
see. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
The Gordian knot. It's awesome. It's a great story.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that. I would much rather see that than
Angelina Jolie talk about.
You must come home, Alexander.
You must spit me to Babylon.
I'd rather see the Gordian knot than touching a ballless eunuch. So it's
well, you got that. So.
Well,
you get what you get. You don't get upset, Nathan. Huh?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Wait. A eunuch's not ballless.
No, they're cut. They're cut just so their balls basically shrivel up and.
Okay, thank you. Yes, dickless.
And you don't
ballless.
get puberty, basically. Yeah.
Yes. You're welcome, everyone.
Well, on that note,
not dickless. We won't go into describe the anatomy of a eunuch. On that bombshell.
Putting all the scores in the computer that will tell us what Oliver tried to do with this, Oliver.
Google safe search off, no balls.
We get a score of,
literally,
with Sean's favorite decimals, 4.73. So this falls just into the Thursday.
Yeah.
This is like a Thursday night with a six-pack movie.
Well, who's got 3.5 hours on a Thursday, Brian? What?
You can break it up.
Battle scene. Do the battle scenes on YouTube. You're not missing anything.
Which are also hard to find, by the way.
They're also 45 minutes long.
They took them all
like
down.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
They took them all down once YouTube started doing YouTube rentals. They took a lot of movie stuff off.
So no one will ever see any
DMCA
good of
stuff
this movie. That's a shame.
Oliver, what are you doing there?
You're not wrong.
What are you doing there? You got to cut it into like a fourth rendition? Sean, thank you. It's been interesting.
Of course. I can't wait to come back on for something else. Yeah.
It's a product of its time.
Every time you come on, I learn so much. So much.
We really cut through the Gordian knot each time.
Okay, so cut through the Gordian knot.
Yeah. I wanna get you on a commentary sometime soon because I need your
Have you seen Under Siege?
Is that the fucking Batman movie with Missouri?
Yes.
His fucking name. All right, should we stop recording, by the way?
No.
No, not yet. Not yet. Wait for it.
On the 10th of June, a month short of his 33rd year, Alexander's great heart finally gave out. And as he vowed, he joined Hebhaestion. But in his short life, he achieved without doubt the mystic glory of his ancestor, Achilles, and more.
Allegedly.
Catch you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our